What's up, you guys? David, the 4K Lowdown here, and I've got a great episode of the Hi-5. Let's roll the intro. What's up, you guys? Thank you for joining me for the Faces for Radio podcast. I'm your host, David, aka the 4K Lowdown, and my partner in crime, Rich TurnerFan77, will not be able to attend tonight, so I am going to talk about him. That's right, I'm going to make fun of him all night long. But first, I've got to introduce our guest tonight for the Hi-5. This is episode 3, and with close to 125 videos on YouTube, almost 700 posts on Instagram, and consistently posting content on Spotify, his social media game is on point. This man's niche of focusing on movies released between 1890 and 1965 make his a unique channel to subscribe to. The Faces for Radio proudly introduces Harrison from Really Old Movies. Harrison, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure, bro. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while. I love what you do on your channel.
Oh, thank you.
What is it about older movies that has appealed to you?
Yeah. So for me, I think older movies, there's just something charming about them. You know, they don't have the super crazy special effects. They don't have all the crazy stuff we have now. And their primary focus is on characters, on just beautiful cinematography and acting and whatnot. That's what I love about them is they can say so much even with so little.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well said. Speaking of saying so much, TurnerFan77 is sorry that he can't be there tonight, but he wanted to say hi to everyone. Harrison, you picked some doozies for movies, but I'm glad to say I have now watched them. Have a great night, guys. Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate that. And of course, your response was curses. I won't be able to debate you. You bet, man. Can't wait. I got to tell you, yeah, he called me and said, "Oh man, this is a rough watch."
This is a rough one.
There were a couple movies he had a problem with, and I'm just laughing. He goes, tell Harrison that he can't pick any more movies. And I was like, all right,
savage.
I know. He was like, it was really funny. Let's see who else we got. We got Wilkie's Movies and Music. What's up, brother? Thanks for jumping in. We got Tony from Basement Blues. Good to see you. Dell from Dell on Movies. My episode 2 of the Hi-5. Great to have you. Jay Manley says, where's Rich? I already explained that, but say it again. Unfortunately, Rich had to work tonight, so he's not able to attend, but he's here in spirit. I have his scores, so we're just going to make fun of him. So we're saying hi. There's Evan. Pop Culture 33 is in the house. Really Old Movies. Do you like to watch new movies? And he says, I am so funny.
You're hilarious, Evan.
As long as you can laugh at yourself, Evan, then no one else can make fun of you.
That's right.
But yeah, you like newer movies too, right? We just talked about you going to see Oppenheimer at some point.
Yeah.
Any newer movies that you can think of off the top of your head that you like?
Let's see. The most recent one I really liked, I mean, technically it was last year, but I really liked Top Gun Maverick. I think that was an excellent movie from last year. But if you watch the Geeks and Flicks where we talked about Indiana Jones 5, I did not like that movie.
No, I remember. Yeah. And that's where you and I first met, was through Geeks and Flicks.
Yep.
Which is really interesting, because I was like, oh, hey, Harrison's got a unique take on his channel about doing the older movies. So I've checked it out numerous times, watched your stuff. And you and I have a stream coming up.
Yes.
Which is going to be in the first week of August. So we are going to talk about a great movie. Do we want to let the cat out of the bag early, or do you want to wait?
Let's wait till the end. Let's build some suspense. That's
I
kind of the
like
hint,
that.
though.
Let's wait till the end to where we'll let the cat out of the bag. But Harrison and I are going to talk on his channel coming up first week of August, so I can't wait for that. Dallas is about to drive home, but I'll be listening. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, Tony saying hi. And you are still there. Tell Rich the Cubs are beating the Cardinals right now. I'm sure he already knows that.
Yeah,
but
probably.
But yeah, I mean, I make fun of Rich all the time about this. I am not a baseball fan. He is absolutely. I'm a football fan. I like the NFL. So he doesn't really care for football. So when I start talking about my sport, he rolls his eyes. And then when he starts talking about his sport, I roll my eyes. So
we bounce each other out. That's nice.
Yeah, we're contrast. We contrast each other. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's how it's going to work, Harrison. We're going to introduce your 5 movies. The 5 movies we're going to talk about, you picked. Over the many, many, many movies that you love, you picked these movies. Now, what was your mindset when you picked these 5 films?
Yeah, so just as background, I picked 5 movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, because to me, that's kind of like the best era of Hollywood, is kind of the classical Hollywood era. And then within each of those, I picked what I think are some of, if not the best from each decade. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about them because I love all of these movies so much.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about these too. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these we couldn't watch, and this was something that I didn't realize with these older films until we started doing this. Is it's really hard to keep track of where these are streaming wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because they jump off of one channel and show up on another one, or just jump off completely. For example, we lost The Sound of Music. The Hills are no longer alive. And once again, I have not been able to finish that film. This one was not by my choice. But it was, it was on Max. I watched half of it and then it was gone. Max dropped it. And, you have muted yourself, but I don't know if that's
turn on the fan. It's hot in here.
Oh, okay. I get it. I've got my fan on too, but it's way over there. But anyway, so we lost The Sound of Music. I almost lost your first movie we're going to talk about. But I was able to find it on another streaming channel. So it was interesting. And it was something that you mentioned when we talked about, is like, this is the nature of these older movies, is it's really hard for them to stay on streaming services. So, and it was something I didn't realize until we started doing this.
Yeah, it's kind of a bear sometimes, because you want to watch so many movies people tell you about. It's like, oh, you got to check out like The Third Man, for example. But you go through all the streaming services, it's not there. It's on one week and then it's gone the next week. It's really challenging because so many of them, different studios own the rights now, even though it may say Warner Brothers or something like that. So it's really, really deep rabbit hole if you go into it. Like some studios owned old movies, but not the new movies of a certain, not channel, but certain studio. It's really weird when you get into it.
Yeah, it was weird. And it was something that I didn't realize until we started doing these older movies, where I was like, okay, usually I'm like, okay, I get your movies. I know where they're at. And then I can watch them sporadically over time until we come up to your show. No, that wasn't the case. I was losing track of, I was like, okay, no, it's not on Max. It's on Prime now, or it's not, I have to find it on Pluto, or I have to go to Tubi, or, something like that. And then, some of them were just gone, where I just couldn't get them at all.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. So Evan says you better have a James Stewart movie.
Oh, don't hold your breath, Evan.
Well, you might go away disappointed, Evan. I'm sorry. But yeah, And Culture, Trinity's in the house. Culture, thanks for joining us, brother. Appreciate it. Okay, so in the midst of talking about these 5 movies, and we'll talk about the categories in a second, I'm going to ask you 5 hot seat questions. So we're going to ask a hot seat question before each movie.
Okay.
We're going to score them live using the lowdown format, which is 10 categories, all on a 1 to 10 scale. So let's just jump into your first movie. And before that, Evan wrote a novel. Let's bring that up. Streaming rights for older movies are hard because contracts and royalties are harder because the idea of streams was never thought of. So music rights or an actor contracts might make it hard to stream. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, it's something that didn't dawn on me until we started doing this with Harrison. I was like, wow, I'm really having trouble keeping track of where these movies are because they're just jumping around like crazy. All right. So we're going to start with our lowest scored movie in our countdown tonight.
All right, let's
just
see.
The average score, because Rich and I have already scored all the movies. That way it takes less time. Otherwise, we're scoring them live with you, and then this stream ends up being 3 hours long, or like Gone with the Wind, which was almost 4 hours long.
Right.
So our lowest scored movie, this is the average between Rich and I, not necessarily each of our lowest movie, but the lowest score overall. And that is that's right. It's The General. Not the insurance company, but the Buster Keaton movie from 1926. I found a little bit of information on it. It seemed to have a budget roughly $750,000, and it made just over $1 million in the box office, which by today's standards would probably be 20 or 30 million, give or take. So it made pretty good money for it being a silent movie. And I've heard of Buster Keaton, but I'd never seen any of his movies. So this was a first for me.
Okay.
I am not much for silent films, and I am not much for black and white. Fortunately, the version that I watched was remastered in color, so that took one of my pet peeves off the table a little bit.
Heresy.
Because it was dropped off of Max, and I found it on Prime. So right now it's on Prime, you guys. It is the color version, but I chuckled. It was funny. I kind of enjoyed it. It was not something that I would watch again. It's still not my style, but I'm glad to have experienced this movie. So tell us something about The General and what you like about this.
Yeah. So what I love about Buster Keaton in general is his style of humor. So if you're familiar with like Charlie Chaplin or other silent era actors, they tend to do more dramatic mix with humor. So kind of feeling, the sad side and the happy side of it. But Buster Keaton, he just does straight slapstick.
Straight comedy. Yeah.
Yeah. Very similar to, I would say, like Looney Tunes or kind of those type of things. They really heavily base their style off of it. And that's what I love about him. I also love, which a lot of actors in this era did, he was a daredevil as well. Like, one of my favorite stunts in the whole movie is he's like running in front of the train because these railroad ties keep ending up in front of the track. So he has to run up and knock it out of the way before the train hits it. And he actually did that. Like, it wasn't a prop. It wasn't fake. He was actually doing that. So the chances of him dying were like insane, right? But
yeah.
And on top of that, he keeps his stone cold, melancholy face the whole time. You never know he's struggling. None of that. I just love it. He's a perfect performer and perfect slapstick physical comedy. I love it so much.
Nice. Jay Manley calls it deadpan humor.
Exactly. Yep. Deadpan humor.
I agree with that. And that's one of the scenes I wanted to point out was this part, because there was this huge scene with him trying to get the train back.
Yeah, he's chasing the other guys.
He's chasing the other guys, and then when he steals the train back and he's running from the other guys, and he's trying to get back, and then he's got the girl with him, and the girl doesn't know how to drive the train, and I mean, there's some really funny stuff here, and this kind of I saw a lot of the Three Stooges here.
Yeah.
This was where I was like, oh, this, and this with Charlie Chaplin, and without these guys, there wouldn't really be the physical comedy movies of today.
Absolutely.
And so it was really cool to experience, and I commend you for giving this to me, making me watch it. Like I said, not my favorite, not one that I would watch again, but I did enjoy the experience.
I forgot about that scene too. The sword keeps breaking.
The sword keeps coming off, and then it ends up in the guy.
The sharpshooter. Oh, it's just so funny to me, man. I don't know why.
It's so I was good. Just like, whoa, you got to be crazy. Okay, let's get to, before we start scoring it, let's get to the hot seat question. Hot seat question number 1, Harrison, is: do you prefer to watch movies in the theater, on digital, or through physical media? Now, I think I know the answer to this. I mean, what would you prefer if you had a perfect world scenario and you could watch any of the movies you want in any media you want?
Mm-hmm.
Which one would you go with?
Oh, well, I would have to say theater. I really would, because I try to go to like film festivals. There's one called Cinecon. They show old obscure movies. Arthur Lyons. They show old film noir. I love just seeing an actual film projected onto the screen. There's just nothing like it. Like, that's how I saw Citizen Kane recently at Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's just a totally different experience. Just seeing it actually projected, because like someone physically handmade and put this all together. There's just something interesting about that, because when you get to digital, I mean, yeah, it's fine and all, but it's so compressed down with the either streaming or just watching it in general, because they make the lower codecs or whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. You lose all the quality, I think. And that's why I love film, because you get the biggest, best possible version of the movie. Now, if it was made on digital, that's a different story. But if it's made on film, like all these old movies are, you got to see it in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I wanted to rephrase the question differently, because I know with these movies that you want to watch, you don't have a lot of choices.
No, I don't.
You almost have to go digital, because they're really hard to find on physical media and almost impossible to see in the theater. I'm really glad that you have a theater that shows those older movies. There's no place close to me that would show anything like this. Like I said, I got to watch The Wizard of Oz once. Like I said, it was about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was in just a small little theater that normally just does plays and stuff. They showed this. But they haven't done anything like that since. And every once in a while, though, they do like an 80s movie. I'll get, Back to the Future will play or something like that, but never anything older like that. So what was it? So Jay says, I loved his appearance on The Twilight Zone.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he did that, because in the 60s, he did a lot of TV stuff.
I had no idea. So what theaters that are digital now? So many are digital now. So hard to find a real film theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think I have one anywhere close. Hey, everyone. Hope you're well. Smack that like button for David Harrison. Thank you so much, Caveman.
Yeah, thanks, Caveman.
Caveman's awesome. I just got to know him recently, and he's been real devoted to the show. I really like him jumping on whenever we go live. He's commented on other posts that I've made. So, Caveman, thank you so much for being a part of the Lowdown. Really appreciate it. I will get you on a Hi-5. Hopefully this year. I'm searching for November is when I want to bring you on. Culture's even saying hi to Caveman. I'm sorry I didn't get to watch your finals, Caveman, on the Steelbook and slipcover tournament. I know Stacy won, but I don't know what place you got. Mrs. Caveman's in the house. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining. But yeah, where Caveman is, Mrs. Caveman's sure to follow. So that was my favorite scene.
That's a great one too.
Accidentally, basically single-handedly pulls a Mulan and takes out the whole army. But okay, so let's get to the categories. So there's 10 categories that we're going to score this by. And let's put the movie back up so we know what we're talking about. We're talking about The General from 1926. So there are 10 categories that we're going to look at. The first 5 are basically almost your opinion. So I try to be objective as possible with the scores, and you might notice that even though I don't care for the movie, I can give it a good score because I can appreciate it for the audience that it has and for what it has delivered, to that era and to what's been done in the future because of it. But the second 5 categories are pretty much technical aspects like script, cinematography, direction, things like that. So when we talk about these categories, we're going to start with the first one, and that is cast. Cast is by recognition only. So with these movies, because I have a special consideration, because these have all come out before we were born,
Before my
they get
grandparents were born.
yeah. Well, for me, yeah. I mean, I'm twice your age, Harrison. So this is it's before I was born. Even our newest movie is from 1961. So yeah, nothing even close to where I was born. So they automatically get a 4-point base. So you automatically get 4 points to start. But then if you recognize the actor by face and name, not from this movie, but from something else that you've seen. Like, see, I have never seen The General, but I know the name Buster Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know him by face. So that adds 1 point for me. If you know these characters by name and face, and you have more of a familiarity because you like these older movies and you've watched a lot of these. So maybe you've seen a Buster Keaton movie that's come out before The General. And if so, then you probably would recognize him. So if you recognize an actor by name and face, it's 2 points. And that tacks on to the 4. If you know him by face or name, it's 1 point.
Okay.
And that accumulates up to 10. So thinking about The General, who do you recognize out of this cast? And I hope I explained that well.
Yeah. It's actually coming in choppy on my
not
end.
about ability.
1 second here. Well, I really only recognize Buster Keaton because I've watched a lot of his like shorts and stuff before he did feature lengths. So I guess that'd be 2 for him then, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll say that because everyone else, no idea who they are.
Okay. So yeah, that puts you down as a 6 because we have the base 4 plus the 2. So you get 6 points for cast.
Okay.
Now, the second one is acting. This is where we talk about the ability of the cast. How they did in the movie. Did they convey the emotions correctly? Did the chemistry between the cast? Did everyone work well together? Things like that, to where it, also consideration would be if they were nominated or won an Oscar for best acting. Usually I give bonus points for that. So this movie, no Oscars, but I think it was nominated for something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was an Oscar.
I don't think so, because
it was it won awards, but no Oscar nominations or anything. So it was a Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films 2013 nominee, and a 2009 winner for the OFTA Film Hall of Fame. But that was it. So yeah, no Oscar nominations or anything like that. But considering the cast, you also consider your recognition of the cast. Did Buster Keaton do well? If so, you give him 2 points. So how was the cast in this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah. I really like Buster Keaton in this movie. I think he really perfectly emulates kind of the everyman and kind of like the smaller guy because he physically was smaller.
Yeah.
I think of the scene at the beginning where he's trying to enlist in the army, but they won't take him. He think it's because he's really short, but it's in reality because he's a train engineer. They're pretty
Yeah.
important.
They're like, no, we need him for this. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought that whole scenario was hilarious, and just his relationship with people, just how he's kind of combative, even to like really really tall, uh, bigger guys. I always thought that
Yeah.
was funny. The romance though between him and the girl was kind of, it was okay. So
Yeah.
I think he was probably the highlight, honestly. So I
Okay.
guess that would be maybe a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, could have been better.
Okay. Yeah. The thing that I acknowledge here is because it's a silent film, you have to go by their facial expressions and their emotions, and then every once in a while you get to read some context.
Right.
Um, so, and there were things that I liked, but yeah, otherwise in general, the acting was a little rigid. Especially with Buster Keaton, it's just the same facial expression the whole time. I couldn't get a grasp of what he was feeling from one moment to the next because he would just
Mm-hmm.
had that look on his face the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of his trademark, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the Annabelle Lee character, I was like, okay, she was like, I'm not gonna go out with you unless you have a uniform.
Yep. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I gotta go enlist, and then he doesn't get to enlist, and that kind of had a Captain America feel
A
a
little
little
bit.
bit,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of chuckled a little bit. But then, of course, he ends up getting lieutenant uniform at the end, and spoilers, you guys, because this is from 1926. If you haven't seen this, I'm going to spoil this. It's just going to happen. These are all older movies, but
It's almost 100.
um, yeah. Yeah, 3 more years. It'll be 100 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually gave the acting a 6. I gave it a little point bump because it's a silent film, and there were facial expressions by the soldiers and stuff. Even though I don't know anything about that cast, that I felt something from them where they were like chasing after the train and things like that were happening. It wasn't
Mhm.
just Buster Keaton, but the extras and all the that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The father, the girl's father, he had his like, I don't approve of him, and you get that music that comes in where he's like the Dirk Dastardly of the
Yeah.
of the movie. So yeah, so I ended up giving the acting a 6. I actually bumped it up a point because as a silent film, you got to give me more with your facial expression, so I can understand what emotions you're feeling.
Yeah. I think a better example, real quick, would be like Metropolis, because in that one, you have a whole gamut of emotions. This one
Yeah,
is just kind of straight
it's
comedy
just
the whole time.
it's very comedy the whole time. Yeah, um, yeah, and you almost made me watch Metropolis.
This close.
You
This
were you
close.
were this close, but the version that I had access to wasn't the version you wanted me to watch. So, maybe next time. Maybe we'll get in there and we'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. So the third category is the plot. Now the plot, and I know you talk about the plot on your show, with the plot on the lowdown when you're scoring it. It basically, I'm going to read the synopsis from IMDb. And then based on that synopsis alone, not knowing anything else about the movie, pretending like you've never seen it before,
Hmm.
how likely on a scale of 1 to 10 would you be to watch it?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
And we get some random stuff on IMDb. So
Yeah. You never
um,
know with it, man.
you never know. It could be like just something really stupid. But
Yeah.
so here we go. After being rejected by the Confederate military, not realizing it was due to his crucial civilian role, an engineer must single-handedly recapture his beloved locomotive after it is seized by Union spies and return it through enemy lines.
Hmm.
I gotta say,
Okay.
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I would say a 7, especially because his beloved locomotive. That's what really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, he has a beloved locomotive. Okay, I got to check this out. Sounds like a comedy.
Sounds it sounds like a heated relationship.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely on the move. So the fourth category that we look at is the ending. Now, this is strictly the end of the movie. And you're again scoring it on a 1 to 10 based on closure. Does it answer all the questions that you have? Do you get the closure that you wanted? Is there just some great scene at the end that you want to touch on? And what would you give that on a 1 to 10 scale?
Mm-hmm. Um, I would say it's an 8. It's not a super major premise. The real whole premise is him trying to get with this girl, and at the end, he does end up with her. But on top of that, he's like a general, and he's like saluting everyone. It's actually a really hilarious scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say an 8 because it satisfies that his initial conflict, the whole reason why he's even in the war in the first place.
Right.
And then, but like a lot of silent movies, it kind of just ends. And a lot of old movies in general, but especially silent films. There's no real like epilogue, if you will. It's just okay, last shot, and then close in the end. Like that's it.
And then we're done. Yeah.
Yep.
You can go home now. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm surprised Harrison didn't pick a Harold Lloyd silent film, Safety Last. It's a must watch.
I like this one just a little bit more, Jay. Just a little bit more. But it almost made the cut.
Okay. Well, it might be again something because we can always have you back for another 5.
Yeah.
To torture Rich.
Oh, absolutely. I live to torture Rich, so I'll gladly.
I would love this. Okay. The fifth category in the first 5 that we're going to look at is the story. So this is if you consider the plot, the seed, the story is the forest. So beginning, middle, and end, how does it play all the way through? Are there any slow parts in the movie? Does there, do they have like some kind of side plot or plot holes that bug you, anything like that? And again, on a 1 to 10 scale, what did you think of the story here?
Story wise, in that aspect, well, I really like it, but again, like I was mentioning earlier, it's not really a full-on fleshed out story. It's really more of you're going to different set pieces to see different stunts. So I'd probably give it a 7 as well.
Okay, solid.
There's no real plot holes or anything, but that's also because it's not really a plot. You're really just there to laugh and see the crazy stunts and the train crashing and all that. Like that's really what you're there for.
Yeah. No, I get it. But yeah, it's a simple, and I think because it's a comedy, it plays well like that as just a simple storyline. He wants to get the girl, he can't join, his train gets stolen, he goes and gets the train, gets the girl back, gets promoted to lieutenant, the end.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, the story was kind of cool. It was simple, straightforward, no twists, no goofy stuff. I mean, there's a lot of goofy stuff, but no goofy stuff with the story to make you go, okay, why did they do that? Or why did this happen? Because, and another thing, it's a short movie.
Yeah, very short.
It's not that long at all. I mean, it's under, was it hour and 15? It's
at least, yeah, it's definitely
like an hour and a half, maybe even a little bit less. It's less than an hour and a half for sure. So it doesn't take much out of your day to watch it. Okay, so now we're getting to the technical aspects. What did you think of the script? Now, when I look at the script, it's kind of like, how it was written. And that's weird because there's not a lot of dialogue going on. So there's not a lot of talking. But you do have the text-based dialogue and how that goes. So, and then I guess how they put the scenes together and things like that. But how would you rate the script on a 1 to 10? Taking that it is 1926, it's a silent film. So I think I bumped the script up a little bit because I think it did the best with what it had.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the script here? How it was written?
Yeah, I actually really, really like it. And I give it an 8 because I just love how even with the limited amount of dialogue they have in it, you can learn so much about the story just by all the visuals. So I imagine the kind of the script saying, okay, we need this type of shot, we need this and that. It's like super immaculate and very detailed. and they kind of tie it all in with the little intertitles. So yeah, I really, really like it. I think it's really good with what they had, it's crazy.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a simple script, but yeah, I really liked what they did with what they had available. And it really kind of it stuck to me after watching Babylon, because there was a lot of reference to silent film back then. And they were, they go to this location and they're filming like 20 silent films at the same time.
Yeah.
And they're
all
going
right
just
next to each other.
nuts. They're all right next to each other because they're all silent. So there's nobody's interfering with anyone else's show. And to think about that and how they did that script, and I'm like, wow, okay, that really put it into kind of a perspective for me that I didn't expect. If I hadn't have watched Babylon, I wouldn't have realized that. I probably would have given the script a lower score, but I enjoyed that. The next thing we're going to talk about is cinematography or visuals. This combines visual effects, cinematography, set design, costumes, all that kind of stuff. Everything you look at on the screen. So what would you give that on a 1 to 10 scale?
Oh, easily a 10. It's amazing. Like, not only do they have, it's all in location on real train tracks, real trains and all of that, but they make jokes with the actual cannons and actual everything, right? Like there's one scene where he's trying to get away from a cannon that he accidentally set off, and it keeps going down and pointing at him. Like they actually had a cannon doing that.
Yeah.
So as that other layer of, oh my gosh, is he going to get hit by it or not? The costumes were very realistic, even though I don't know if you knew this or not, but apparently in the scene where you have the Confederates charging and then the Union charging, it's the same extras. They just had to switch costumes between
uniform.
Yeah, so they're running and chasing each other.
I was suspecting that. I was like, I think that's the same guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. When I was an extra in Starship Troopers, and they kind of did that where they had us in the football stands. I mean, I was out on the field too, but they had us in the stands, and we sat in one section and we were cheering, and then we moved to the middle section and we were cheering, and we moved to the end section and we were cheering, and then they cut that all together. So if you look at the stands, you'll see 3 sets of the same people in the stands. So I get it. I understand how that's done, but that's really funny, knowing that. And one of the things that I really liked was with that cannon, how, because as soon as I saw him hook it with his foot, I was like, oh crap, this is going to go bad.
Yeah.
And so he's in front of the train hiding, and I'm like, the cannon's getting ready to fire, and the train does this on the track, and the other trains, I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna hit that train. And then bang, and then you hit that explosion. And yes. I thought that was hilarious. So that was a cool thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this was a 10 that Rich gave this a 10 as well.
Yes, awesome.
So thumbs up on that. All right, so the next thing is the direction. So we're talking about the director, how he did, and if there are other movies that this was also directed by Buster Keaton as well as Clyde Bruckman. I don't know if these guys directed other movies, but how would you rate this on a 1 to 10 compared to other works they had or compared to other movies of this type?
Well, knowing that Buster Keaton in this time, I want to say he did like 7 or 10 feature-length films just kind of back to back over the course of like 5 or 6 years. I would say this is probably the best of the best in that group. So I would say a 10 out of 10. Okay, and then sweet. Very close would be Sherlock Jr. I love Sherlock Jr. as well.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
It's really cool. You got to see that one.
Okay. So 2 more categories. The next category is the music. So this is not only musical score, but soundtrack, sound effects, things like that. How would you rate that on a 1 to 10 here?
Well, this is the caveat about silent films is a lot of them are in public domain. So you never know if you're going to get the original score or not.
Yes.
And I run into this issue all the time whenever I review a silent film. So I always give it kind of a mid-range score just in case the one I listen to isn't the original one.
Okay.
So just based on the one I did here, I gave it a 7
Okay.
because it had like slide whistles and kind of fun sound effects for like the cannons and the guns and all of that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like your typical what would you call organ music and whatnot. So
Right.
yeah, I give it a 7.
Okay. Cool. You know what? This was my 10 that I
Oh,
gave.
okay.
And my point behind it was that the music in this movie was its own character. And because it's a silent film, the music has to kind of set the scene for you.
Right. Right.
Where you get, okay, this is an intense scene, and this and the whether you get the organ or whatever, the music, the tempo and everything kind of relays that. Like when the train's going and you got that intense music, okay, something exciting is going to happen. Or you get the whistles and the doing sounds and things like that when you know that there's going to be a comedy scene. Like when he's throwing the wood up onto the car and the wood's falling down and he keeps throwing the wood up. And then one of the funniest things was Annabelle Lee was stoking the fire in the train, and she's putting wood in the fire, and she runs into this one with a knothole in it, and she throws it off the train.
Yeah.
and you get that whoop like that. and I started laughing because Buster Keaton's like, what did you just do?
It had a knot in it.
There was nothing wrong with that. I don't understand, but I could hear this going on in his mind. But of course he wasn't saying it and it didn't do any dialogue, but I could just see this like, what the hell did you just do? That's wood. And it just that cracked me up. So yeah, this was my 10. And again, yeah, it's subjective because a lot of this is done in real time where they have an orchestra in the theater playing the music and doing the sound effects and stuff while the movie's going. So this was kind of a touchy point, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was like, I don't know if this would have been different if I'd have watched a different version of this movie, if the music and the effects and everything would have been different. But I was appreciating it as a whole because the music in this movie was its own character, and I was able to know what was going on because of the music change. And so yeah, I had to throw a 10 to that because that was my favorite part of this.
Awesome.
I'm a sound whore because I love my sound in the movie. So when you can do that to me, when you can give me that emotional feeling and set the stage for me, I really like it.
Oh, that's great.
So the last thing that we talk about is the wild card, and the wild card is a 1 to 10 rating based on the genre. And this being just a full-on comedy, what would you rate this as a comedy on a 1 to 10?
I'd have to say a 10. I laugh every single time I watch it. Even just little clips from it have me busting up laughing. And like I was saying earlier,
with the clips that I get.
Yeah, just these simple clips here, I was laughing hysterically. Yeah, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite comedies ever. So yeah, 10 out of 10.
Sweet. I love it. All right. So we're gonna go to the scores here while I'm doing the math. So I'm gonna try to talk and add at the same time. So IMDb gives The General an 8.1 out of 10.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes critics score 92%, and audience score also 92%. Rich gave this a 57.
Ooh, Rich.
Out of 100.
Oh.
It's not his lowest score. Rich gave it a 57.
Oh, no.
Rich gave it a 57. I gave it a 65.
Okay.
Harrison, your score is a 78 out of 100.
Woo! Okay, so about that 8.1 then.
Yeah. Right around in that solid where IMDb's at. Right up there with it. So yeah, no, good stuff.
All right.
All right, one movie down. It was really cool to watch. I enjoyed the experience. I really did. And like I'm gonna do this again. I like that. That whole just great stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
So let's get to hot seat question number 2 before we jump into our second movie. Hot seat question number 2, what is your go-to movie snack or beverage for the theater or at home?
Ooh. Okay. I'll do both. So for theater, I'd have to say a blue raspberry icy. I get one every single time I go.
Nice.
Yeah. And then some popcorn, of course.
Right.
And then at home, just I guess whatever candy or something I have. I don't really eat that much at home, funny enough. I kind of more invested in trying to, peel apart the movie. I don't have time to eat,
Right.
But yeah, I would say icy and popcorn.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So Caveman says I play second behind Stacy for Steelbooks, but overall third, tied with John Doe. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. And we got Spicy in the house. What's up, Spicy? Thanks for joining us. Spicy's another one that's just been an avid watcher of the show and definitely gives us his support. So I really appreciate that. So let's get into our second lowest score. Or let's say fourth highest. Our fourth highest of the week.
I get so bored I could scream.
And that's what Rich was saying the whole time. It's Gone with the Wind. Yeah, this was a tough watch.
Oh no.
This was a tough watch. This was almost 4 hours long. I was telling you before the show, I complained about Oppenheimer being too long. This one, I was ready. I was ready to cut bait and run and just tell you that I wasn't going to be able to watch it. But everybody's saying hi to everybody. And again, I want to thank you guys for being on the show. I want to thank everybody for watching on the replay. Gone with the Wind. From 1939. I gotta bring up my stuff on it. Yeah, I was right. So yeah, 1938. Now IMDb lists it as 3 hours and 58 minutes. Now when I watched it, it was more like 3:45. So, and again, no real. It doesn't go through credits like for 20 minutes, like the movies we have now. It's just like the end, and then one screen of like director, this and that, and it's done.
It's over. Yep. They use up every single second.
Yeah, they use every single second for the movie. Now, this movie had a budget of $3.9 million in 1939. It made $390.5 million in 1939, which by standards today is almost $4.2 billion.
Yeah, man.
So this is far and away the highest grossing movie of all time. Like sold the most tickets.
Yeah.
I was watching a thing on where I watched it on Max. And they had an intro, like a little 5-minute intro from, some lady from Turner Classic Movies was like, oh, thank you for watching Gone with the Wind, blah, blah, blah. And she said that the premiere of this movie, there were 300,000 people.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
Out in front of the theater to watch this movie.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, that's crazy. There's no way you would get something like that. I mean,
no.
But I think this movie probably played forever, but it won 8 Oscars in the theater, including the first African American Oscar.
Hattie McDaniel.
Hattie McDaniel, who wasn't even allowed to sit with anybody. She had to sit by herself in a different section of the theater. They wouldn't even let her in through the front door. She had to go in the back entrance, and they made this whole thing about it with the lady from Turner Classic Movie was talking about all this kind of stuff. But Clark Gable nominated for Best Actor. Vivian Leigh was nominated for Best Actress, or won for Best
I think
Actress.
she won, I want to say.
I think she won because there was another woman who was also nominated for Supporting Actress that didn't win. But I mean, director, Best Picture, I mean, it won just about everything. So I had to take that into consideration for its time. So there was definitely bonus points given, but above all things, and I'm going to get to that, my favorite thing here was the cinematography. The way it was filmed.
Oh, it's a gorgeous film.
It was beautifully done. Way ahead of its time. Even to the special effects with the gunshot.
Mm-hmm.
With the Union soldier that was killed. That impressed me when they did that. And I know it ended up winning some kind of visual effects award later or something like that. Okay, but what was it? Why did you pick this one for this decade? What was it about this film?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of 30s movies, but to me, this one is really what catapulted and started the classic Hollywood era, because you have the amazing camera work in color, like that was still relatively new. The crazy set pieces, costumes, the camera angles, the backdrops, like everything all around it is really the beginning of, well, the blockbuster. I mean, we could consider this to be a blockbuster, right? So,
oh sure,
yeah,
sure, absolutely.
Like this, and also in the same year was Wizard of Oz. We owe a lot for Marvel and all of them. We really owe a lot to these two movies, but this one especially, I think, my opinion, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is absolutely a great movie, but I will say it's a little bit too long. I mean, maybe 15 minutes, no, 2 hours too long. Then, if because I was like, oh, good, it's over. No, that was some intermission or something, because it just goes to black and then comes back, and it's like a second half of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, it reminded me of, I watched Wicked in San Francisco,
sure,
in the theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't normally go to plays, and again, because I don't like musicals, so I go see Wicked because it's with my daughter's 8th grade class, and watched the first half, and I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm dealing with it. It's good. And then they were like, the curtain comes down, and I'm like, great, it's over. I start to walk out, and she goes, oh no, that's intermission. That's only half. And I'm like, oh man. And then the second half I just hated. But it was a good experience. And like that, this was a good experience. Now, I will tell you, and I'm going to throw Rich under the bus, he stopped this movie 3 times and had to walk away.
Oh, Rich.
He was like, couldn't do it. Dell says he made it home in one piece. I'm glad to hear that. Been enjoying it so far, and I'd be in line with Harrison for the general. Good. That's awesome.
Yes.
Dell says, not a fan of Gone with the Wind. I can understand that. Spicy's never seen Gone with the Wind, but that runtime scares me. Yeah, that scared me too, man. I was like, really? 4 hours? I barely got through the full version of Dune, and that was like 4 hours. But yeah, this was, and they really dug in with the character development in this movie. And I guess they have to, because they don't have the luxury of doing all the CGI and the other stuff. So they really had to make this a character-based film.
Right.
We really have to get to know who these characters are. And I'm sorry, this was something that, because my daughter watched this, and she and I talked about this, because she watched it in school. And she said, I didn't like this movie because it's really hard to get behind a movie where I don't like the lead.
Yeah.
And
I could get
I'm
that.
like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense because this girl is a gold digging bitch.
Oh yeah,
I
Scarlett
absolutely,
O'Hara, man.
she's a horrible person. Shallow in every way. She never really comes to her senses until the very end. And then, you know, Rhett Butler's just done. But
Yeah, Rhett Butler of all people.
yeah. So my brother Mike from the Something Awesome podcast, I'm going to have his Hi-5 next week. Never seen this either, but you soak in so much of it through osmosis. Everyone knows something from this movie. Yeah. I mean, so many quotes are from this movie, and quotes that I didn't even know. Like I said, this was a first time watch for me, but I'm like, I've said quotes from this movie
Without even knowing it.
but not knowing where it was from. And I did that with Casablanca too. And we're going to talk about that later.
I'm so excited about it too.
PR Movie Elite, what's up, everyone? Thank you for joining us. We're talking old movies, and Gone with the Wind is our number 2 that we're going to talk about. So let's get right into the scores for this. First things first is the cast. Again, we get the automatic base 4 because it's, dinosaurs were still roaming the earth when this came out. So recognition wise, who do you recognize? Who do you know by face or just by name? So that we can do the points for cast here.
Sure. So I would say I would give it an 8 because I recognize Clark Gable, Vivian Leigh, even Olivia de Havilland, and the director Victor Fleming, because he also did A Wizard of Oz, which I also really like. So yeah, I'd give it 8 out of 10.
Okay, down for that. And the next thing is the acting. And again, I have to. There were some groaner acting here where I was like, oh please, and this person needs to stop. I think it was the high voice from the one servant girl,
Miss
and I was
Scarlet!
just like, oh. I was like, I can't.
Yep.
I can't. She's got to stop.
Yeah.
But then there's some really great acting in here as well. So I did give bonus points to because it was at least nominated for all the Actor Academy Awards. 1, 2 out of 4. So you got to give special bonuses to that. What would you give the acting on a 1 to 10 here?
I'd give it a 10. I mean, Clark Gable, especially for me, knocks it out of the park. He is the best character in the whole movie. And even as much as I don't like the character of Scarlett O'Hara, that to me kind of shows how good of an actress Vivian Leigh is.
Yeah.
Because for that whole movie, you strongly hate her. You strongly dislike her, right? That takes a lot of guts. I mean, to play a character like that.
I get so bored I could scream.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Especially in the second half of the movie. I think she's worse there than she's in the beginning. So in the beginning, she's younger, but
she's younger, she's naive, she's I want ponies and this and that.
Yeah.
And then when the war happens and she's still a turd, and she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be no nurse. I'm going home. And then
go back to Tara.
I'm going back to Tara. And then it was okay, fine, I'll take care of Matt. And it was, you promised, and I was just, and the whole time trying to steal her cousin away from, the one person in this movie who loved her. And I'm going to say my favorite character of the movie, which I think she was the other one nominated for supporting actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I was like, you need to slap her because she's like,
boom.
She's and I thought that when she showed up at the party in the red dress, and I really and Maddie starts walking up to her, I thought she was gonna sock her. I thought she was just gonna slap her, but she kissed her on the cheek, and she's like, I'm so glad you're here. I need your help to, and I was like,
she was such a saint, man.
she's such a great person. It was like, you are not seeing her for what she truly was. Back in the day, the Muppet Babies did an episode framed like Gone with Wind. I think I remember that.
Oh,
Miss came in. I recorded Gone with Wind back when we were using VCRs. The TV guide did not list the full length of the movie. Still to this day, I have not seen the last 15 minutes of the movie.
oh wow.
Oh man, that's like iconic. That last scene. Dell says the lead is a terrible person. Her suitor sucks, and the message is and has always been trash. That said, it should not be censored. I agree, and that's definitely a thing that was a topic of discussion.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, especially.
And it is what it is. Even back when it was made, this movie was rejected on that level. And another point that they talked about when I got that 5-minute intro before the movie started.
I think even the book too, because it was a book first.
Yeah. There was a lot of flack about this movie. I don't know, but there's so much more to it. But yeah, she in particular treated people awful. But yeah, everybody was like, because again, it was Civil War, and the way that they treated the slaves was awful, but it was kind of the nature of that period. Right. And so yeah, I don't think it should be canceled. I think it should be something that we should observe so that we know about that history and don't tend to repeat it. It's when we censor stuff and we don't show that anymore that we have a chance to fall back into it.
Exactly. Yep. Well, and especially too, we were talking earlier, this is still considered the highest grossing film of all time. There's something to it, right? We got to figure out why,
Yeah.
Like that intrigued me about it.
Yeah, that's definitely. And this is one of the reasons why I'm glad you picked it, because I would have never watched this. I mean, just by the runtime alone, I would have never seen this movie. But it was something that I wanted to experience, because why was this such a popular movie back in that day? I mean, even to Wizard of Oz, which came out in the same year, it wasn't even close to this. With box office numbers. So let's go to the plot. And again, here we go, IMDb. Let's see what they have. It says, a sheltered and manipulative Southern belle and a roguish profiteer face off in a turbulent romance as the society around them crumbles with the end of slavery and it's rebuilt during the Civil War and Reconstruction periods. Kind of loses a little bit at the end for me, but reading that plot, not knowing anything else about the movie, how likely would you be to watch this on a 1 to 10?
I would say kind of a 6, because with this description, it kind of sounds like a Hallmark movie almost.
Oh yeah.
With of course the Civil War stuff, but like that sounds like a Hallmark movie or a cheesy rom-com.
Right.
Yeah. Which it's not. It's not that at all.
Yeah, Miss Caveman says, I'm actually kind of surprised no one has tried to do a remake of Gone with the Wind. I don't know. That seems kind of blasphemous, doesn't it? Was it be?
Yeah. Don't give them ideas.
I don't know. I mean, could there be? And Caveman, that's okay on the double post. I will bring that up just a little bit later. It's a little off topic. But I do thank you for putting in the scores for the tournament, because I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I don't know. And would a remake with a modern take on this be interesting? Maybe not necessarily about slavery or about the Civil War, but something else, but have this context in mind. Maybe even call it Gone with the Wind, but it have some kind of a modern take. Kind of like they did with Romeo and Juliet. With Leonardo DiCaprio and something like that. I wonder if that might work. Again, this is one of those I haven't heard of anybody talk about that. And Miss Caveman, thank you for bringing up the subject, because is that taboo to think, wait, should we remake this?
Yeah. Well, I wonder though, because it was shot for shot, but they remade Psycho, and that was a total disaster. So
It was awful.
it could be another one of those situations.
It could be another, it could crap the bed with it. But all right, let's move on to the next topic. After plot is the ending. So what did you think of the ending here on a 1 to 10? Did you get the closure you wanted? Did it answer all the questions? Did it leave anything on the table? What did you think of the ending?
It's such a sad ending, but I loved it. I gave it a 10 out of 10. It finally, Scarlett gets her comeuppance, because the whole movie she's just terrible and horrible with people, and then finally someone stands up to her, is like, you know what? I don't care. I'm done with you, Scarlett. Like, goodbye. Rhett Butler, the one guy who was every woman in town was fawning over him, and she managed to drive that guy off. The one like kind of tough guy. It's
yeah. And he was devoted to her. He was just like, and it didn't,
man. They had a kid.
Yeah, it didn't end. They had a kid, and unfortunately met with a terrible accident.
Yeah.
But I have one thing to say about the ending.
Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear,
Harrison,
I don't give a damn.
Yes. Well, there's a reason why it's so iconic, man. It's awesome.
I had to throw your name in there, and I did. Frankly, my dear Harrison. But okay, Mr. K-Man, there's no way to remake this for modern audience without fundamentally changing almost everything that made it popular.
Yeah,
I gotta agree with that, Del. Jay says I could see a sequel maybe, but a remake, nah.
I think there's a sequel book, so
Miss K-Man says never said it would be a good idea. I'm just surprised no one tried. Yeah. I do think that there is a sequel book. I think there is a continuation of the story.
Yeah, I think it's called Scarlet. Or maybe Scarlet O'Hara. I don't remember, but yeah.
Yeah. Spicy has a channel too. Spicy does. And it's muy caliente.
Muy picoso.
But I just, I like the costumes, the set design.
Oh yeah.
This is an amazing film, and I had to bring up that scene again because that's the iconic scene, and that's something that Spicy has a great channel. Yes, he does. If you guys get a chance, follow Spicy. All right, what's next? The story. So on a scale of 1 to 10, again, slow spots, plot holes, things like that. What did you think of the story on a 1 to 10 scale?
Well, it is almost 4 hours long, so I could safely say probably a 7. I do think the first half of the movie, I think, is really good setup, really good character development, but I really do think the second half, we get this super long sequence of the Civil War and kind of how people are being killed and whatnot. I think that could have been trimmed down a lot, because that takes up a good hour, I want to say. Because after that, it kind of rushes through the rest of Scarlett and Rhett Butler's lives. So, yeah, I would say a 7.
Okay. Yeah, that was my biggest thing, was they took a really long time to get where they needed to go, and they didn't need that much. I think they could have easily cut this movie in, I'm not going to say half, because I think they probably wanted a little bit more to make it that epic blockbuster tale.
Yeah.
But they could have cut an hour off of this easy, and it would have been just as good. But yeah, they spent a long time on the war stuff. They spent a long time in the middle, to where it was just kind of like the same thing over and over again, just like saying it in different ways. And I was just like, okay, I don't want to use the term beating a dead horse, but that's what comes to mind, is that whole cliche. So yeah, it's just, it is what it is. But yeah, that was probably my least favorite was the story because it just went too long. And then speaking of story, what did you think of the script on a 1 to 10?
Well, funny enough, maybe contradictory, but I loved it. I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I
I did
loved,
too.
yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, I did too. This is one, even though it runs long, the script is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And it won the Oscar for best screenplay. I had to consider that in my review.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when I do that, I give it a 2-point bonus when it wins an Oscar, and I give it a 1-point bonus when it gets nominated. So I gave the script an 8, but then a 2-point bonus because it won the Oscar. So it gets a 10. And that's because, okay, so yeah, I thought it was good, but it won the Oscar too. So yeah, that's gotta be considered. That means,
absolutely.
the Academy liked it and things like that. We have the master of all things Presswood, and that is Sarah. Sarah, thank you for joining us. She's saying, hey, oh snap, leave for a second and look at all this love. See, Spicy? Saying a big thank you. What up? What's up with you, girl? Thank you so much for joining. And then let's see the delivery. Oh, I love the delivery of Frankly, My Dear. I don't give a damn. It's so good. You really feel it.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's just done. And I don't know. It didn't end the way I thought it was going to, because I thought he was building her, trying to get her to love him just so he could diss her at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But you could tell that he really loved her.
He did.
And
especially their daughter too.
Yeah. And then he absolutely was devoted to Bonnie. And it was bad. And then Sarah subscribed to Spicy. Good job. I think Scarlet was made into a TV movie or miniseries in the 80s. Sounds familiar.
I might have to check that out.
Sounds familiar. All right. I think we're caught up on that. Let's bring the poster back up. And the next thing is the cinematography. I mean, come on.
A 2. No. No, man, I give it a 10.
I'll put it down if you want, but yeah, I was a 10.
No, man, it's so good.
It's so epic the way they built this, and the way they filmed it it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, how is this not a 10, Harrison? If you don't give this a 10, then I must be doing something wrong.
Right. No, man, I love it so much. One of my favorite scenes, even though I think we were there too long, is it's kind of a panning shot showing all the soldiers that were injured, because there's a huge soundstage, or maybe outdoor, I don't know, but you could just see hundreds and hundreds of extras that are all bandaged up, and really, really, I mean, sad, but really amazing shot there. And also I love the scenes every time Scarlett's about to do something that's like major fork in her road. It's like, you can't really see her at all. She's all black, but you have this background of this beautiful sunset, and she's like, I'll never hunger again, or whatever it is. Right. I love that. That's so cool. And just beautiful movie all around. I love the costumes, and I don't know if you've ever seen the Carol Burnett show at all.
Yes.
So they did a spoof of this called Went with the Wind. And
that sounds familiar.
It's one of their most famous ones. And Carol Burnett, she plays Scarlett, and she makes the costume, out of the curtains.
And Harvey Korman is Rhett Butler, right?
Yes, he's her.
Okay.
But she doesn't take the curtain rod out. So she's
so it's just like with the I remember that.
It's so funny.
She gets caught on the stairs. I was like, turn sideways. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I loved Carol Burnett's show because they used to always break the fourth wall and just bust up laughing.
Yes.
Tim Conway used to just crack them up, and they could not stop laughing.
Oh, he's so funny.
Harvey Korman would break character all the time, and it was so fun to watch. Okay, so now we're getting to direction. So what did you think of the direction on a 1 to 10 scale? And again, comparing it to his other works like Wizard of Oz, things like that. Directed by Victor Fleming, George Cukor, and Sam Wood. So, what did you think about this? What would you give this on a 1 to 10?
Oh, I'd give it a 10 as well. And it's crazy. I did a video a while back about Victor Fleming. And during this time, I don't remember the whole story, but I think George Cukor was originally the director, then had to do something else. So like all this swapping happened, and he did part of one movie, the other guy did the other, but mashed together, this and Wizard of Oz are incredibly directed and staged and put together. I love it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Cayman says the iconic Bob Mackie dress in the Carol Burnett show. Loved that show as a kid. Yeah. Me too. Next thing is the music. So soundtrack, sound effects, musical score. What did you think about this on a 1 to 10?
I got to give it a 10 out of 10 again. It's super iconic, man. It really sets the mood and the tones, especially in the battle sequences, but also in the moments when they're sad. Like, I think it was either Melanie or her husband, somebody was dying, but it's like super tragic, and music was very slow and kind of made you a little teary-eyed. Yeah, I love this music.
Yeah. Dell agrees cinematography is amazing, especially the wounded soldier shot.
Yeah.
There was that one where she goes into town and the soldiers are just laying in the street. And she's just kind of and stepping around him.
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Oh, Scarlett.
Yeah. Oh, she is such a bitch.
Yeah.
But the last thing we're going to talk about is Wild Card. Now, this is a drama, romance, whatever you want to call it. I'm definitely calling it a genre of drama. So what would you give this on a 1 to 10 scale as a drama?
Oh, easily a 10. Because the whole time it's all character focused and it's major drama, right? Even at the beginning, Rhett Butler is kind of likes Scarlett, but she can't decide. And then they finally get together, and then they have a kid, but then the kid gets injured and dies. And it just all this kind of back and forth of these characters and the things that they all go through. So it's very dramatic. Almost melodramatic, but yeah.
Yeah. Two things that for me were just heartbreaking were the death of the daughter and the death of Maddie.
Yes.
Even though that happens at the tail end, and then Scarlett finally gets it through her thick skull that her cousin really didn't ever want to be with her. And she goes, oh, I guess I'm going to have to love Rhett. So she goes and chases after him, and he's like, dude, I'm out.
Too late, man.
Bye, Felicia. And it's, she's gone, and she goes, I'm going to get him back. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to take a nap and wait till tomorrow before I do that. And I'm just like, you're still a bitch.
She can't help herself.
She can't help herself. Oh, I'll think about it. I'll do that tomorrow. I was like, okay, whatever. All right. So let's get to the final scores on Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
You're going to love this. So IMDb gives us an 8.2.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes critics score 90%. Audience score 92%. Rich gave this a 55. This was his lowest score of the 5 movies. I gave it an 80 out of 100. Harrison, your score is a 91.
Woohoo!
Out of 100. Good score.
All right. On par with the critics again.
On par. Definitely on par with Rotten Tomatoes this time.
Yeah.
Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear,
Harrison.
I don't give a damn.
I love that so much.
I kept playing that over and over when I made that soundbite. I was just laughing.
Oh, man.
Okay, so we're gonna get into our third movie.
All right, real quick.
The third hot seat question.
Okay.
Rich, you damn Philistine. Del said, looked it up. Scarlet aired as a miniseries in 1994. FYI, the book was written in 1991.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Del. Del getting the knowledge. Digging it. All right. Hot seat question number 3.
Ooh.
Besides the movies in your high five, what's one movie that you could watch on repeat right now?
I think I'll have to say Dune Part 1. I've seen it probably 10 times now, and I never get tired of it because
I love Dune.
it was so good. I'm so excited for Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, the new Dune. Did
Yeah,
you
the
like
new
that
one.
better than the original?
I haven't seen the 80s one yet.
Okay. So the I did like when you said Part 1, I immediately hit the original one with Kyle MacLachlan.
Oh, okay.
I'm a huge fan of that one, but yeah, no, I really liked Dune Part 1. There were elements in here that definitely I thought were better than the original movie, and don't cancel me, you guys, for saying that. I do love the original movie. I'm a huge fan of the original. I can't wait for Part 2. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Oh yeah. Hey, real quick.
Spicy says Sisu on repeat.
Ooh.
Sisu was badass. I loved that movie.
I haven't seen
that was a mystery movie Monday. I had no idea what it was gonna be. My wife and I go in to watch this movie, and I was like, oh, it's Sisu, because I see a trailer for it, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this, but I knew I'd never get to see it in the theater. But it plays as a mystery movie before it even comes out, and I got to watch it. It was amazing. So yeah, I grabbed the 4K Steelbook as soon as I could, and yeah, no, that's an awesome movie.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
Great pick, Spicy. I would so watch that. It definitely brings back the old spaghetti westerns, the way that they film it. So it's definitely grainy and stuff. It was really neat. Miss Caveman says Raiders of the Lost Ark is her repeat watch. Sure.
That's another one for
I
me.
watched that on 4K last year, and it just reminded me of seeing it in the theater for the first time. It was really awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Sarah says recommended movie of Sisu. David, should I pick up after my cruise? I definitely think you should watch it. I don't want to recommend that you spend money on anything. But it is worth a watch if you get a chance. Jay Manley says George Reeves, who played Superman. That was one. Yeah. Okay. So that was
about that.
I was like, I saw that dude, and one of the twins, one of the red-haired guys.
Yeah.
That was like pining over what's her face. And I was like, dude, I know that dude. Where do I know that guy from? And I go through the cast and I'm like, George Reeves, that's Superman. I knew that guy. So yeah, I was like, I totally forgot about that. I was going to mention that, Jay. Thank you so much for bringing it up. Mike says I can make a top 5 of movies I could watch that aren't in my high five. I could name a whole bunch of them. Spicy says Raiders is a great choice. Definitely is a great choice. I think Last Crusade is probably my favorite, but Raiders of the Lost Ark is so good. All right. Are you ready for your third movie?
Well, before we do that, I actually have something pretty cool. I own a lot of the movies on this list. So I got a VHS thing here of Gone with the Wind.
Wow.
And then you pull it out here. It's got 2 tapes.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-tape movie. And according to this, it's 3 hours and 52 minutes. So.
Okay. So I got 2 movies at different locations of Walmart today, not the same Walmart as the one usually go. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, actually, no. I have the original Dune, which is 2 tapes, and I have Titanic, which is 2 tapes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those are my 2. All right, so let's get into our third movie that we're going to talk about tonight.
I'd hate to take a bite of you. You're a cookie full of arsenic.
It is The Sweet Smell of Success. Again, another first-time watch. for me, Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis. That's a really interesting movie.
Yeah.
And you talked about this as one of your all-time favorites.
I've just
So
seen
you-
it in November. Like that, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it? Dell says the new Dune was like a great screensaver. Pretty as hell, but nothing happening. All right.
Fair enough.
Mike says Forrest Gump he has on 2 tapes. I have the original DVD and it's 2 DVDs.
Oh,
Forrest
wow.
So yeah, that one's locked in storage right now because that was like I'm keeping that. I'm not getting rid of that one, but I now have it like on just about every format ever except for VHS. But okay, so what was it? You said you just watched this in November. What is it about the sweet smell of success that you like? Why did you pick this one?
Yeah, so kind of some context. Comic-Con last year, I went to this booth that had all these Criterions, and this is the one I bought for it, just really caught my eye. Just love the art on it. And once I watched it, I was just blown away by the dialogue. Because if you really think about it, nothing really happens in this movie action-wise or anything like that, really till the end of it. But it's still super tense and super crazy just because of the delivery of the dialogue. And that's what I love about it, because to me, this is very much a film noir. That's one of my favorite genres.
Yeah.
You got the femme fatale, you got the kind of crooked characters, everyone's kind of a bad guy except for the sister and the musician guy. But yeah, no, I love this movie. Burt Lancaster especially. Blew it out of the water.
Nice. Let's see. Sarah says Covenant, Resident Evil, Death Island. Oh, that's what she got. Also got fan mail. Cool. Caveman says Vivian Lee almost lost the part of Scarlet. English actress maintained her accent during the first reading. Her enunciated regal speech was a far cry from Scarlett's and nearly cost her the role.
Dang.
That's an interesting point. Thanks, Caveman. I wouldn't have even known that she was British.
Yeah, I just found that out recently too.
Yeah, she did a great job. Definitely, bonus points for that. So the sweet smell of success is from 1957. As I said before, it stars Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis, who I think their acting is so good in this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it has to be character driven, but there's some great shots. There's great city scenes in here too. So it was really interesting to kind of get a take on the cinematography and how they were doing some of these shots.
Yeah.
This was, and we'll get to the scores in a second, but I gotta tell you that the beginning of the movie, I wasn't feeling it. I was like, okay, what's going on? I don't understand. But then it starts coming into shape. It was like just this lump of clay on my screen, and then it starts to take shape. And I'm like, yeah, I recognize these guys, and then I recognize the musician guy. I was like, oh, hey, he's from Adam 12. I remember that. But I didn't remember his name. So it starts to form this shape as you're moving along in the movie. And I'm like, okay, is Burt Lancaster's character just a creepy bastard, and then Tony Curtis is nipping at his heels. What the heck's going on? But I guess I want to call the cop Harrow or whatever his name was.
Yeah, the older guy.
Yeah, the big burly guy that was like, it was basically like the muscle for Burt Lancaster. There was something about his character that appealed to me. And it was really odd because he really didn't do much. But it was almost like he was the Mr. Hyde to Burt Lancaster's Dr. Jekyll. And I liked that. I liked that dynamic. And so I wanted to point that out before we get to the cast.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was amazing.
Yeah. So speaking of cast, let's get to the cast. what do you think your score would be for recognition here of the cast?
I gave it a 7 because I recognized Tony Curtis. I had seen him in a few movies. This was my first Burt Lancaster, but I knew who he was. If you know film noir, he's like well known there. And then, let me think about it. I think that was pretty much it. So yeah, for those two especially.
Yeah, no, Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis were my two no's, and then I knew the guy from Adam 12, but I didn't know his name. So yeah, I actually gave the cast a 9 here. So what do we think about the acting? What would you give the acting on a 1 to 10?
Oh, a 10. Burt Lancaster especially was the best actor in the whole movie. I don't know what
creepy.
He was creepy as heck, right? But
creepy, dude.
Super tense though. Like
just
with his dialogue, he didn't do anything. It's crazy.
No. I mean, he's sitting at this table talking to a senator, and then's like, you need to be careful what you say, and then goes into detail about who he's with and why he's doing this and stuff like that. And basically, I know I know stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I can
blackmail on blackmail.
Yeah. And it was just it was crazy. I'm like, dude, I don't want to piss this dude off at all.
No. And the way he talks in metaphors too.
You've seen the new Justice League War World. Okay. Caveman enjoyed it. Looking forward to get the Steelbook from the UK, but the Steelbook is Blu-ray only. Okay. That's one that we're going to talk about on By the Numbers. We're going to look at Justice League War World, I think, in the next couple of weeks. Dell hasn't seen The Sweet Smell of Success. I think this is worth a watch if you get a chance. This is something that was interesting. I didn't peg this down about until at least halfway through the movie with, what was going on and how I thought it was going to end. So I definitely enjoyed that part of it. Speaking of which, let's go to the plot. Speaking of pinning something down.
Yeah.
This says, powerful but unethical Broadway columnist J.J. Hunsaker coerces unscrupulous press agent Sidney Falco into breaking up his sister's romance with a jazz musician. Pretty basic, but kind of on point. What would you give this on a 1 to 10? How likely would you be to watch it?
Just based on that description, probably a 6. Because I don't know, to me it doesn't talk a lot about how much power that Burt Lancaster's character has. Yeah. Kind of is missing the whole crux of it, I think.
I'm like, Broadway columnist, who cares?
Yeah.
What kind of, why is he I didn't when I read that, I was like, that makes no sense to me. I can't give that a high score because that doesn't appeal to me. Until you actually get into the movie and you're like, oh, I see. This is, columnists in this movie have some kind of weird power.
Yeah.
Like an eerie fame about them to where they're kind of, kind of like the TMZ of the 50s, to where they have the dirt on people, so they have power. And then what came to mind whenever I saw Burt Lancaster speak was Anton Ego from Ratatouille.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To where people were afraid of him and his reviews because he would just eviscerate people in print. And I got the impression that Burt Lancaster could do that too.
Probably physically too.
Yeah. He looked like, he slapped Tony Curtis around like he was a redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dang. Okay, so the next thing is the ending. What did you think of the ending here? Did it get the closure that you needed? Did you, did it leave anything on the table? What would you give that on a 1 to 10?
Yeah, well, I'll have to preface this with, it's not your traditional storyline because they're bad guys, right? So
yeah,
we get closure in the sense that, the sister gets away and so does her boyfriend, but it kind of, compared to all the buildup to it, it kind of just goes out quietly. There's not a major shootout or anything like that. It's actually pretty subtle.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll probably give it an 8.
Okay.
I liked it. I do wish we saw a little bit more, maybe them in jail or something, but I kind of
Yeah.
get what they were going for because the whole movie's pretty subtle, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Spicy says this is only Burt Lancaster movie he's seen is From Here to Eternity. Definitely want to check this one out. Good. Yeah, for me, the ending just kind of drops off. It's like, you know, I didn't get the closure that I wanted. I still liked it. It's basically, it's a classic story of what goes around comes around. They finally got their just desserts in the end. You know, Burt Lancaster loses his sister. Tony Curtis gets the crap beat out of him.
Yeah.
But he also gets out from under JJ's thumb, which is cool. I don't know what happens with the boyfriend. I'm sure she goes to him. She says she's going to him, but he's in the hospital. So I don't know how bad off he is.
Right.
I would have liked a little more of that, like them getting away, Tony Curtis testifying against Burt Lancaster, you know, something like that, to where it just kind of, even if it was text based, so-and-so testified this and JJ Hunsaker gets 30 years for this. And I was like, cool. I would have been like, cool, I got the closure that I wanted. But that's the only, I mean, not even a real negative. I still gave the ending a 7. There were still points about it that I really liked. Leading up to that, just that last ending that just kind of just everybody walks off and it's done.
Yeah.
And it says the end, and you're like, oh, okay. There was a lead into that I liked, and that's where I gave most of the bonus points to. And that's with the slapping around and trying to jump off the balcony and all that kind of stuff happens. And everything just kind of comes to a head really fast right there at the end. Just the straw that broke the camel's back, and everything just kind of happens all at once.
Yeah. But I do wonder too if it seems a little bit more realistic in that way, because, you know, I wonder how often this kind of thing happens and it just doesn't get full closure we'd want. Oh, I love those pictures.
Yeah. It was like one of the city scenes that I really like about the cinematography and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And even though it's black and white, I can appreciate the quality of film that they did here. So getting back to our scores, what did you think of the story on a 1 to 10 here?
Let's think about it. I'd say a 9.
Okay.
You know, I love everything. The ending, I'm still a little iffy about it. I can't really tell if I really love it or if I don't like it. But everything else before then I love so much. So yeah, I give it a 9.
Yeah. K-Man says, would you recommend the Criterion Blu-ray of Sweet Smell of Success? That's what you got, right? Yeah.
Yes.
How likely do you think it will make it to 4K?
Ooh. Well, let's see how long ago this came out.
I don't know if I see it.
It might not say here how long ago the Criterion came out. I've been noticing they're only doing ones they already made a lot of in the past. So they just kind of pick off of that. I don't know if this one sold a lot or not.
Yeah, I don't know if I see a 4K of this, but
probably not.
When a Barnes and Noble finally appears in my area, which it's being built, so I'm hoping by the end of this year, that I might look for this.
Yeah,
and get it for my collection. This would be kind of fun for the November sale. If we get a Barnes and Noble by then, I'm gonna look for stuff like this and see if I can find it. K-Man says Tony Curtis fought for the role of Sidney Falco, ignoring warnings that it could harm his career.
Yeah, because I think he was in comedies at this point. It's kind of his more first serious
That's
role.
all I know him. I think he did a good job here.
Yeah,
it was an interesting character, Sidney Falco, how he played him. K-Man also says the film had very little backing by the studio, almost stealth releasing it. Yeah, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Years later, it was recognized by Sight and Sound as a forgotten masterpiece, and its reputation grew from there. Yeah, because it had and I had my notes here. It had a budget of $3.4 million and only made almost 8,000 in the box office.
Hmm.
So it really didn't have much of a release. Sarah says the one Criterion. Would anyone help me out with Criterion movies to add to my collection? Barnes and Nobles don't carry as much movies. Well, sometimes they don't. I know a couple Barnes and Nobles just completely cleared out their movies.
Yeah, mine did. I just
yeah,
get them on their website.
Yeah, if I were, I'd go to their website. I'm hoping that the Barnes and Noble that we get is going to have movies, because I love The Hunt. That's what I miss about getting these movies. So, and I'll tell you, when I hit the Barnes and Noble where my in-laws live, we go to visit them every Thanksgiving, and I try to hit Barnes and Noble there. My first two Criterion grabs were Seven Samurai and The Princess Bride.
Oh, okay.
So those would be the ones I would recommend to you, Sarah. If you get a chance to get a Criterion movie, definitely Seven Samurai is like one of the best movies ever made. And in fact, we almost did it on the show, except that I'd already seen it. So we went with a different one instead. And I'm kind of glad we did. So Dell says they're building a Barnes and Noble in the side of the mountain. Good for you, Dave. Not exactly, but the town where I have to go to, I have to drive an hour to get to the nearest theater. So it's in that town where they're building the Barnes and Noble. They're actually like adding a bunch of stuff to this mall, and one of it's going to be a Barnes and Noble, a Nordstrom Rack, and then some food farmers market thing. I wish they'd built something in the side of the mountain. I'd do it if I had the money. Sarah, what are your favorite genres? That would really help me suggest something. That's a good thing, Del. But I mean, aside from the genres, I think there's just some movies that are just great films. 12 Angry Men would be another one that I really love the Criterion release of that. That was just such a great movie.
I'm going to be watching that with Rich, actually. I've never seen it before.
Oh, cool. I'm glad, because I told Rich that he has to see it. So I'm glad that's coming up on your show. I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah.
Sarah, Amazon is matching the Barnes and Noble prices until this Friday. Cool. All right, where were we? We talked about story. Okay, now we're getting into the technical aspects. What did you think of the script on a 1 to 10 here?
10 out of 10 easily, man. The dialogue is so amazing. It's like they're speaking a whole nother language, man. Like speaking in metaphors and allegories. It's incredible. Especially Burt Lancaster. He does a good chunk of that. I love it.
Yeah. No, I dig that. Cinematography on a 1 to 10.
Also a 10. Beautifully shot, man. Especially those scenes you were just showing right now are incredible. Especially the city ones, and exactly. And even the simple ones when they're in the theater, you were showing the clip earlier. I'd hate to take a bite out of you. You'd be a cookie full of arsenic or whatever. Like scenes like that are amazing.
Yeah. Just the way that they did the shading here, and I know it's black and white, so there had to be a lot of shading, but something like, with comic books, how you like, okay, if it's a black and white comic book, the shading is really important. And I think that was a key element here that they did, is the shading. So yeah, I dug the cinematography here. Direction. What did you think of the directing here on a 1 to 10?
Well, I don't think I've seen any of this guy's other work, but if they're all like this, 10 out of 10. It was excellent, man. I'm surprised I never heard of him before.
Yeah. Yes. And it was directed by Alexander McKendrick. What other stuff did he do? Because I'd never heard of him.
Yeah.
He was nominated for an Oscar. Get out of my way. What did he get nominated for? The Man in the White Suit, 1953.
Oh, the Alec Guinness one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, but it's on my watch list.
So writer, Sweet Small Success was his last movie. He did High and Dry, The Man in the White Suit, Dance Hall, The Blue Lamp, Saraband. Okay. He's got a few. He's got a few things under his belt.
Well, this is his magnum opus then.
Not too shabby. Yeah, that's just the writing stuff. As a director, Don't Make Waves. Oh, Dad, Poor Dad, Mama's Hung You in the Closet. 1967.
All right. 60s, man.
Okay. And there's something else. Mama's Hung You in the Closet, and then that's it. I know it's all I get. A High Wind in Jamaica, The Defenders TV series, A Boy 10 Feet Tall in 1963, The Devil's Principle. He directed The Lady Killers in 55.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's another Alec Guinness.
Crash of Silence. He directed. He directed High and Dry, same thing he wrote. He directed The Man in the White Suit. And then he directed Whiskey Galore in 1949. That was his first directing. So, yeah, not too shabby. He wasn't nominated as director, but he was nominated as a writer. And going completely off of writing, let's talk about music. So what do you think of the soundtrack here, the score, sound effects on a 1 to 10?
You know, I can't say I really remember it. I'd probably give it maybe a 6.
Yeah.
It's not as, but a lot of it is dialogue driven. There really isn't that much music as far as I remember.
Yeah. No, not a whole lot.
I guess the jazz music was good, but
yeah, there was some stuff in the bar, and even though I didn't really hear the guitar much, and he was a main character in the movie, I heard more of the horns and the drums.
Yeah,
than I heard the guitar, and he was supposedly the leader of the band, and I was like, that was kind of weird. Okay, so now the coup de grace, which is the wild card, and it's film noir for sure. I have it listed as a drama though. So what would you give this on a 1 to 10 scale for a drama?
A 10. I think it's a good example of that, especially the relationship. It's a very weird one, but the one between Burt Lancaster, JJ, and his sister. It's like really tense and weird, but very dramatic, very crazy.
I wasn't sure if it was it incestual? What, did he love her like that?
Yeah.
I got that sense, but she was afraid of him. She would cringe every time he would touch her or kiss her on the cheek or something like that. She would just pull away from him.
Yeah.
So there was definitely some kind of abuse there. And that was an interesting point with her. Even though I didn't recognize her as a character, I thought she did a really good job as the sister.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's go to the final scores on The Sweet Smell of Success. IMDb is giving this an 8.0. Rotten Tomatoes critics score 98%. Audience score 92%. Rich gave this a 66. I gave it a 74. Harrison, your score is an 86.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was the music.
The
I
music
think
kind of hurts it a little bit. And I'm going to finish it off with...
Why is it that everything you say sounds like a threat?
Because it did. Everything Burt Lancaster said sounded like he was a threat.
Oh, yeah. It's terrifying, man.
There's a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. So I was telling Dell what kind of genre she likes. Spicy recommends Double Indemnity. Classic.
That's a good one. That's a good one too.
Caveman says Kino has a great 4K release of 12 Angry Men with both versions. Cool. Spicy says that 12 Angry Men released by Kino is fire. Nice. I'm very interested. Caveman says I need to watch my copy of Double Indemnity. I just have a weird mental block and thriving interest in watching. Yeah, it's called procrastination, Caveman. I had that trying to watch Gone with the Wind. Spice says, definitely give it a watch. I was pleasantly surprised. Dell says, besides the one Dave said, you might like Night of the Living Dead, Videodrome, Moonstruck, Some Like It Hot,
Ooh, Some
Eyes
Like It
Without a
Hot.
Face, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Double Indemnity, and Thelma and Louise. Thelma and Louise is a recent 4K release that I've been interested in grabbing. Other ones that I grabbed, Malcolm X. I grabbed Raging Bull, Fisher King, some other stuff like that. And of course, the Infernal Affairs series from China. That's amazing trilogy. That's so good.
About Citizen Kane. I get that one.
I do not have Citizen Kane. That's one that I've been kind of, I don't want to say dreading, but not wanting to see. I haven't seen Citizen Kane.
Well, I invite you to watch it.
All that's missing, Harrison, is guess what we're gonna watch next time.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into our second highest score from Rich and I, and the fourth movie we're going to talk about in our countdown. First, we have hot seat question number 4, and that is, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of actors and actresses? So this is 4 total, like your favorite actresses and actors of all time.
Okay, so like 4 in total, not 4 each.
4 in total.
4 in
It can be all guys, all girls, mix and match, whatever, but just 4 total.
Okay. I'd have to say Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, Harrison Ford. He's my namesake. Got to put him up there. And who'd be another? Katharine Hepburn. I really love her movies. She's hilarious. So yeah,
Nice.
that's my
Nice. Spice is a nice recommendation. I need to see a lot of these. I got an extra copy of Citizen Kane if you want it. Spicy, I would love that. We should talk. I'm actually surprised Citizen Kane was not one of Harrison's 5. I think he didn't realize that I hadn't seen it. Otherwise, it might have been. Spicy, yes, I would. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, if Sarah wants it and you give it to her, I'm totally cool with that. But let's get into our fourth movie that we're going to talk about.
I know a good deal more about you than you suspect.
Awesome.
And that is Casablanca, 1942 classic. And this is one that I just recently watched. So this is not a first time watch for me. But I got to say, and I bought the 4K because I've heard so many great things about the black and white in 4K and how good the quality is and how it looks and all that. And I got to say, I got to agree. It looked really great in 4K. Mm-hmm. It was a fun watch.
Oh yeah. No, and I have it on VHS, DVD. It looks amazing in 4K.
Yeah. So with because this from it says 1943 here, but I think it was 1942.
Yeah, premiered in November.
Made. Yeah, it was like right there at the end of the year. Yeah. Had a production budget of just over $1 million, made $10.5 million in the box office, which by today's standard would be pretty good. And this was like in the middle of World War II.
Yeah.
And we were losing. The Allied countries were losing the war at this point.
Yeah.
So for this movie to come out, crazy. Dill says no love for James Cagney, Harrison.
Oh, I had to pick one from each decade. It's too many, man.
Yeah. Just watch Casablanca this year. I would always fall asleep when I would try. Finally made it through though. Good job.
And I saw All the President's Men, Evan. Okay.
Yeah. Casablanca is a solid movie. I've seen All the President's Men. It's been a long time, but I have seen that.
It's a good one.
It is a good movie. So, and dude, I like this.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm glad I own this, because this would be something I would watch again. My wife liked it. We watched it together. And what surprised me was the humor in this. I didn't expect it to be that funny, but I laughed out loud because Humphrey Bogart's dry humor in this, his dry, sarcastic wit was
Oh yeah.
classic. It was just, and it was just like, really? You didn't know that? Like, it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, I was just,
Oh.
I didn't really like the relationship he had with Ingrid Bergman. I thought it was amazing, but that was the part I was kind of regretting. But it was funny. The music was good. The scenes were shot really well. The acting across the board was really good. So yeah, I thought this was a solid film. This was a good watch. I enjoyed this a lot. Rich had other viewpoints, but we'll get to that. He said this was a tough watch for him. What's that?
That's why he's not here. No.
That's why he's not here. He's like, oh darn, I got called into work. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Look at the time.
Evan said tried picking all the President's Men for my top 5, but Max took it off the stream this month, of course. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Caveman says Maltese Falcon is pretty great too. I also bought that one, but I have not seen it yet.
I like this one more.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to watching Maltese Falcon now that I've gotten through this one. I want to also acknowledge my oldest son, Eric, who gave us a like on Facebook. Thank you, son. So what was it about Casablanca? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but what was it about Casablanca? Why did you pick this as your 40s choice?
Yeah, well, to me, it's also my favorite movie of all time, so I'm a little biased here. But to me, it kind of perfectly encapsulates the 40s because, there was a whole World War II going on, that kind of terror there. And even during that tragedy in this movie, there's romance, but there's also some action and whatnot. And I also love the music and just all around everything about this movie I love so much. I have a hard time putting into words, but just every time I watch it, I feel like I'm transported into this world, and I love the characters there, and figuring out everything about them. Just everything about it is a great, great movie. That's why I picked it.
Nice. Okay, so let's get to the cast. So again, you have the base 4 to start. What would you give the score for cast recognition on a 1 to 10 scale?
I'd give it a 10 because actually with this movie, I've been able to discover all these other actors and actresses. Because, you got Conrad Veidt, who's in Dr. Caligari. And you've got Claude Rains, who's in Invisible Man and a couple other movies. He's one of my favorites in this one. But
yeah,
you got Greenstreet. I think it's Vincent Greenstreet. He's in Maltese Falcon. All these actors and all of them were in this one movie. And then it just catapults into all these other fantastic movies as well. So, yeah, that's why I give it a 10 out of 10.
Nice. Del says he got the digibook of all the President's Men. That's awesome.
Nice.
So, this won 3 Oscars. It won Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. Was nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor, but didn't win. So Claude Rains was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And of course, Humphrey Bogart was nominated for Best Actor. So it did win 3 Oscars. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, it
deserved it.
It deserved it. I think it probably deserved more.
Yeah.
But that's fine. It's okay. And this was in 44 was when it was nominated and won all these Oscars.
That's right. Because it didn't have a wide release till 43 because they had to shut down Europe and all those places.
Yeah, which I think is why that's kind of wishy-washy as to was it released in 42 or 43. And And that makes a lot of sense because the war was going on. It's like, yeah, we're not showing this. We're just gonna have to wait a little bit till we can afford to do it. So let's get to the acting on a 1 to 10 scale based on the cast and everything. What did you think of the acting here?
10 out of 10, man. I think Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, they have great chemistry together. I even like the minor characters like Claude Rains as the French inspector guy. He's hilarious. Like my favorite scene with him, he's like, "Do you know there's gambling going on here?" And then someone says, "You're winning, sir. Thank you."
Thank you. Yeah.
Like, I love that scene. I love Conrad Veidt as the German officer. It's perfect for him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any other films with him, but I love Paul Henreid as Victor Laszlo. I think Victor Laszlo's kind of like the Superman. You know, he's like someone to look up to. Great character. Yeah. All around fantastic cast. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to call out Peter Lorre in here.
Yes.
It was kind of the weasel thief guy that was.
Yes.
And I was like, yes. And I was like, so it was funny because I was watching other movies this week and I'm like, is that Peter Lorre? And nope, that's not Peter Lorre.
No.
It was, I think it was Sweet Smell of Success. I saw somebody and I was like, is that Peter Lorre?
Oh.
And it wasn't. And I was like, oh, dang. So it would have given me bonus points on the cast because I was kind of, I think there was one other movie where I was like, is that Peter Lorre? And it wasn't. I think it was something. It might have been something from Gone with the Wind.
He's an Arsenic and Old Lace. I love him in Arsenic and Old Lace as well.
Yeah. That was almost it was almost a show that we were going to do.
That's right. Yeah.
Because one of the kids that I used to coach was actually in a production of Arsenic and Old Lace, and he wanted to bring his production group, the actors on the show, and score Arsenic and Old Lace, and we talk about it. It didn't end up working out with the timing and stuff for the show, but the play was pretty cool. It was fun to go see, and I got to support my student Jordan, who did a great job, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm glad he thought of me, and I got to be there for the show for him. K-Man 4K for Casablanca. Yeah. Oh yeah. 4K for Casablanca. All right.
Steel.
Oh, nice. Que bueno. All right. So let's go to the plot. Here we go. A cynical expatriate American cafe owner struggles to decide whether or not to help his former lover and her fugitive husband escape the Nazis in French Monaco.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I give that a 10 out of 10.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah. I mean, I still wasn't inclined to watch it the first time when I read that, but it was better than I thought. I was like, oh, okay. But still, I'm like, it's got to be a romance. And I'm like, eh. And I'm not a fan of romance movies.
Well, this is definitely the most masculine romance movie.
Yes. Yes. Kiss me like you're never going to see me again. Okay, let's get to the ending. What did you think of the ending on a 1 to 10?
Oh, I love it, man. 10 out of 10.
All right, Major, you asked for it.
Yes. So good, man. It's so good. Like, I love, because like the whole time, we think Rick Butler, is he going to go? Is he going to stay? We don't really know until he finally tells her, go with your husband, like, leave me behind. And he's a real hero. I love that. Like the first time you watch it, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sam.
That's where the music really did it for me, is I really liked the music in there when he was singing.
As time goes by, so good.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm not supposed to sing that song. Don't make me sing that song. Don't make me do it. The plot hit all the historian checklist.
Yes. Good.
Yes.
Our historian Evan loved it. Good.
Yes. Good. Okay. So, I'm sorry. Were you a 10 for the ending?
Yes, a 10. Yep.
Okay. That's what I thought. I didn't put it down. So, What did you think of the story on a 1 to 10?
I think I also have to give it a 10. I can't help myself. I just love this story so much because
Okay.
the first time you watch it, you're not really sure how it's going to end up, how it's going to, I mean, you could kind of tell, but still, it's really interesting because of the character of Rick. I just love his dynamic and his character arc so much. So yeah, that's why I give it 10 out of 10.
I know a good deal more about you than you suspect.
Okay. So let's get to the script. What did you think of the script?
Oh, man.
Again, it won the Oscar for best screenplay. So I had to throw props to that. But well, yeah, what did you think of the script here?
Oh man, I love it so much. I'm trying to find a copy of it because I imagine it's going to be 200 pages long because it's all dialogue and you notice something new every time you watch it. And yeah, it's good. I love it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I already put a 10 for you. I was just waiting for you to stop talking.
I can talk for hours about it, man.
Go ahead and talk about it, Harrison. Let's do it. Because I knew I'd already put a 10 on before I even asked you. But let's get to the cinematography.
Yeah.
How'd you like cinematography? How it was filmed, the shots, this visual effects, the set design. What would you give that in total on a 1 to 10?
I have to give it a 10, man. I just love it so much. So many of the scenes in it, especially in the cafe, are beautifully shot and beautifully staged. And even the scene when she goes into Rick's room, when Ilsa goes into there, it's like beautifully lit. It's very film noir. Like, it's incredible.
All right, it's a 10 for Harrison. Across the board so far, what did you think of the directing?
I gave it a 2. No.
It's about time. I was waiting. Your bias is starting to show on this, but it's cool.
I know.
This lets me know. But yeah, what did you think of the direction here?
No,
and again, won the Oscar for best director. So
yeah. No, I love it. I love it so much, man. 10 out of 10. Michael Curtiz, very unknown director. I'm reading his biography right now. Excellent. If you've heard of White Christmas, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Adventures of Robin Hood, like he directed all these movies, Captain Blood. Like he's an incredible director, and this is probably his best work ever.
This would be his home run for me.
Yeah.
Of the other stuff that he's done, this is his home run for me.
Definitely.
Okay, let's go to music. What did you think of the music, the sound effects, the score on a 1 to 10 here?
I really love the song As Time Goes By and all the other piano type music, but I do think the score is kind of lackluster in some scenes. So I would give it an 8.
Finally, something that's not a 10.
I know. And I might be contradicting my review that's coming out this week, but whatever.
Whatever. it is what it is. Yep. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay. Yep. So this being, and I'm only calling it a drama because they're calling it a drama, but I think it's so much more. It's kind of a hybrid genre wise. Because I really like the comedy here was my favorite part of it. So what would you give this as a drama? What would you give this on a 1 to 10?
Yeah. Drama wise. Well, like you said, it's kind of a modge-podge. I would think of it more as a romance, but
yeah, I consider romance as a type of movie and not a genre, but that's just my personal thing. But yeah, but you can call it a drama romance or a rom-com or whatever. And
dramomance,
a dramomance.
Yeah, no, I give it a 9.
Okay. Not so much math I have to do there. Just put your score in.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, Jay.
Yeah, I'll display this in a second. Let's go to that, and then I'll do your final scores. What did I do? Okay, so 4K on Casablanca. There's an amazing 4K Steelbook, which I have. And I think that's the one you have, Harrison, right?
Yeah, from Zavi. That's where I got mine from.
Yeah. 70th anniversary Blu-ray. Casablanca's on my father's tombstone. It was his favorite movie. That's deep, Jay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know if I would have my favorite movie on my tombstone. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I might. I don't know.
Because, you know, I don't know if I could fit my favorite line on the tombstone. Maybe part of it, but I don't think my wife would let me do it. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we'll see what she approves of.
Yeah, no, my favorite movie of all time is Independence Day. So
Is it the president's speech?
The president's speech from Independence Day is my favorite line. So, and I have that on a shirt.
Oh, wow.
Which is cool. But yeah, I don't think I should have that on my tombstone. that probably wouldn't go over very well. And should we win the day? No. Which, I evidently lost. But oh man, this was not my favorite of the 5. But definitely top 2. I really enjoyed watching this, and this is one I would for sure watch again. So let's go to the final scores on Casablanca. IMDb gives us an 8.5. Rotten Tomatoes critics score 99%. Audience score 95%. Don't Judge Me Rich gives us a 66.
Okay. Just flip it upside down to 99.
99. I gave it an 82. Harrison, your score is a 97.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
66.
I posted in my stories so you could see it. Okay.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Okay. Seems to take such good care of Rick and vice versa doesn't exist in Burnett and Allison's play. It's believed he was added by Julius and Philip Epstein, the twin brothers. Okay. And there's Rich. What's up, bro?
Speak of the
Just
devil.
in time for the last movie. Asleep for the fighting, awake for the money, as per usual. Whose writing tended to add touches of wit and humor to scripts that included The Man Who Came to Dinner and The Male Animal, both made the same year as Casablanca.
Oh,
That's
check
interesting.
those out.
Because that's one thing I really liked was the humor.
Yeah.
Just at home. Yeah. Dude, we got one more movie.
Woo-hoo.
This has been a blast.
Yeah.
Before we get to our last movie, we have one more hot seat question. And that is, give us your most surprising hot take. One movie that you can't stand that everyone else seems to like.
Ooh. Well, is Alex in the I don't like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh.
To me, I don't like the theatrical cut either, mind you. I just think it expands on the things I don't like about the theatrical. I don't think it needed to be 4.5 hours. And I just think it's all the problems that DC has. They tried so hard to set up a universe in like 2 movies. You know, they needed to do what Marvel did, which is taking your time, introduce the characters first, and then do the Avengers type story. But
yeah,
they didn't do that. They had to cash in on, Civil War's coming out. Okay, let's put out Batman versus Superman. And it's just where it all went downhill from there. So yeah, I do not like Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I also don't like the theatrical either. So do with that what you will.
So, Rich, Jay said, "Aha, the Cubs beat the Cardinals," and Rich goes, "Jay, you're mean." He's just, he just speaks the truth. So, all right. So let's get to our final movie. The highest scored for Rich and I combined Also, the most recent movie in your list came out in 1961. Jay says, "Whoever thought I was nice, whoever said I was nice, that's what my wife says." I go, "You're mean." And my wife says, "I never told you I was nice."
Where'd you get this impression?
I don't know where you're getting impression from. And that is Yojimbo is our last movie.
Yeah.
This is one that I've wanted to see. I am a big Kurosawa fan, love Seven Samurai. And I know this is the basis for the spaghetti westerns that Leone did.
Definitely.
He
and
a
stole from
lot
this
of
one.
Absolutely robbed it. So what was, I know that this was kind of a last minute pick.
Yeah.
Because Sound of Music did not happen. So what was your mindset behind grabbing this one?
Yeah, well, I think mainly just because of what it inspired afterward. Because, we were alluding to the Sergio Leone. If you've ever seen A Fistful of Dollars, they stole the plot from this movie. But I love that movie too. And you could see why he did, or why Sergio Leone stole from this, because it's a great story. He's not really a hero per se. He actually just likes starting crap with both sides of the town. I love it so much. He's just in it for the money. He doesn't care about helping these people.
Yeah.
He just likes to stoke the fire a little bit. I just love that.
I was gonna say, except for that family.
Yeah.
So wife and husband and son, he definitely wanted to help them.
Yeah, he helped them escape. Yeah.
He helped them escape. He didn't like how she was being treated and how the father and son were being treated because of it. So he's like, I really hate people that are like that. And that was like one of his things. That was where he was kind of the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is not, I couldn't get a budget on this. It made $46,000 in the theater, or $47,000 in the theater. So, and it was nominated for an Oscar, and I think it was costume design. Yes, costume design in 1962. And rightfully so. I think it probably should have won for costume design.
The costumes are so good in these movies.
Yeah, so good. Where's my first video of this? And guys, if you want to see something interesting, this is something to watch. It's just so masterfully done. Definitely my favorite of the 5 that you picked. And I'm really glad I got to watch it. Justice League was 4.5 hours in the pandemic. So that was great, but I agree, lack of individual character development left no reason to care for any of the characters. Yeah, they were just trying to spit something out because Marvel was already way ahead of them. And I really think that killed them. They should have just gone with that formula and just released it over time, and it would have done so much better. But instead they wanted to be the Backstreet Boys to MCU's NSYNC, and they ended up getting buried. Jay, no one put Tritz in the corner. So dude, this I can't say enough about this. This was a fun watch. I mean, it was black and white and it's subtitled, but you have to watch it subtitled. Don't watch this dubbed. And it was just like, he walks in and he's like, yeah, I could do something with this. Right. And there's a Bruce Willis movie that also copies this called Last Man Standing.
Oh, okay.
And it was set in like the Prohibition times, like the 20s and 30s. And he does the same thing. He goes to this town and he plays both sides against each other and then just walks off with everything. And Jay's laughing about that. That is funny. But let's get to the scores. What is it about the cast? Now, this is a foreign film as well as it being an old one, so it does only get the 4-point bonus, but it would be a 4-point bonus for it being a foreign film as well. Still only 4. So, what would you give the cast? Did you recognize anybody else here from the cast?
Yeah, so this was my either third or fourth Kurosawa film, so I recognized Toshiro Mifune,
Right.
and I don't remember his name, but he's the bald guy in Seven Samurai. He's kind of the leader of that. I recognized him too.
Yes.
I think he's in this one, or maybe it's Rush, but I can't remember which. I kind of get a little mixed up.
I didn't catch him, but I think he's in this. But I did, Mifune was like, I caught him right off the bat. I'm like, I remember him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was my pick. So
I gave it a 6.
All right.
I love this poster though.
Yeah, no, I loved it too. I had to put it on. I know there were some that had like it in English, but this was the poster that I wanted. So what'd you think of the acting?
I really, really like it because when you watch like Seven Samurai and these other ones with Toshiro Mifune, he's kind of a loud, bombastic character. But in this, he plays kind of the opposite of that. More subtle, more like, Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was like in Fistful of Dollars. So
yeah,
I really like that. I like the bad guys. Well, I guess they're all kind of bad guys, but the guy with the gun, I really like the guy with the gun and his group. I thought they were great antagonists.
Yeah, I think he was the best for the antagonist, and he shows up later. Like he was
like halfway through the film.
He was traveling doing something, and he comes back and he goes, "Guess what? I got good." And he would shoot it from inside his
jacket.
Like this. He wouldn't do it through the sleeve. He'd be like, bang. That cracked me up. But I liked his character. He was a great contrast to Mifune.
Absolutely.
In here. So that was a lot of fun once he came into the picture. Then it got really, really interesting. And I did not get your score. So what was your score on the actor?
I gave it an 8.
Okay. Solid. Okay. So let's go to the plot. All right, IMDb.
Don't fail me now.
Don't fail me now. On the last one, a crafty Ronin comes to a town divided by 2 criminal gangs and decides to play them against each other to free the town.
That's a 9. That's awesome.
I'd be in. I was in.
Yeah. That's
I was in. I think I gave it an 8. I was like, yeah, I'd watch that. As soon as it said Ronin, I'm like, yeah, I'd watch that. That's a samurai movie. I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you think of the ending here?
Trying to remember. He just ends up going away with nothing, right? I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah. No, so he basically takes care of both gangs. So he comes in. So yeah, the dude pulls the gun and he throws a knife, sticks it in his arm.
Oh yeah.
So he can't fire it. So he's like, and he's firing it in the air. It comes up and he slices him, basically kills the whole gang by himself.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, "Oh, can you do me a favor? Can you get my pistol? Because I don't want to die. I feel naked." And so hands him the pistol, and basically hands him the pistol, and the guy's like trying to shoot him, and he's like, "I can't do it." And he dies. So basically the guy just walks up and he's talking to the guys that are left, which is basically the casket maker and the restaurant owner who's been his buddy the whole time. And he's like, da da da, and basically Mifune just says, "Okay, bye," and he just walks off.
Yeah,
and it's over. Yeah. He just walks off, and I was like, "What the heck?" But everybody else was dead, so there was really nothing else to do except go ahead and leave. And all that was missing was a sunset for him to just walk off into the sunset, and that would have made it perfect.
Okay, yeah, then I would say a 7. I'd say 7.
Dave I'd buy that for $1. Yeah, I would. I'm sorry, you said 7, right?
Yeah, just because It did feel a little anticlimactic because of how quick
Yeah.
he killed everyone. Because they
Yeah.
have all this tension and they're all fighting each other, but he just goes, yeah, yeah, and then they're all dead.
Yeah. Now he comes in and just wastes them. It was like, it wasn't even funny. I was just like, man. But it was just showing how good he was.
Right.
And so that was cool. So what do you think of the story here on a 1 to 10?
Mm-hmm. I think I give it an 8. I think it's a fun story. I love the concept of it because it kind of plays on the old Western trope of a good guy, good cowboy, bad cowboy, because he's kind of in between, kind of the more anti-hero. And he's kind of in it for himself, like you mentioned, except when he helps that family. But yeah, there's no real clear, distinct roles here. So it definitely inspired the spaghetti Western.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if this was this, did this inspire Star Wars too? Was this or was it another Kurosawa?
Oh, I think Hidden Fortress mainly did.
Okay.
Yeah, because that one has a princess. There's two kind of comedic relief that are like R2 and 3PO. There's an emperor. Yeah, that one is more Star Wars.
Okay, cool. So what do you think of the script for this?
Well, I'm just basing it off of the subtitles, but I really liked it. I think I give it an 8 as well because I think it was kind of funny. There's some funny moments in it. It's not just a straight action movie per se. It's more of almost a borderline comedic film, almost a comedy.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
Yeah. No, there's a part that I really like, and it's when he first gets paid to join one side, and the wife's like, so we don't have to pay him the other half. We're gonna do this major attack, and then we're just gonna kill him. and he's listening to this, and he walks by the concubines who are standing there, and he's like, shh, it's okay. And he's just listening at the door, and he goes, shh, it's fine. And he walks back into where he's at. And then they're getting ready to do this fight. And he's like, no, I'm not going to fight so you can kill me. I'm going to go over here. So he gets up on this lifeguard tower shit over here. And the two guys are like, the two gangs are getting ready to fight. And they're so afraid of each other, so afraid of killing. It's like they're back and forth fighting, running away and coming back. And the whole time, Mifune is just laughing at him. And it cracked me up because they were like, it was like mutually assured destruction. They were just they hated each other, but they didn't want to get into this straight up fight.
Right.
They wanted to do the sneaky, like killing a guy at a time or whatever. And I thought that was a really interesting dynamic, and it was something that he did on purpose, so he understood kind of who the major player was on both sides. And, And that was kind of a neat thing. It wasn't really in the dialogue, but I saw it and it was a part of the script, so I enjoyed it. Cinematography. What did you think of and this is set design, costumes, special effect. I mean, the visual effects, what they did, as well as the camera shots and things like that.
Yeah. Oh no, I give it a 10, man. Especially at the end when it's like raining and he's holding the sword and all these guys start charging him. It's amazing. Yeah. And the costumes are really good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love the wide shots on this. This was one I really liked. So I had to point this out because he's like, that's the restaurant guy, and he's in the foreground and he's hurt, but he's like right there, and you can totally see him, and then you can totally see the guys behind him.
Yeah. That
are facing him, and in the very distance you see the samurai.
Yes.
The Ronin, and he's like facing off against him, and I love that shot. So yeah, it was a 10 for me, absolutely.
I actually have that shot in my intro to my videos, is with him like walking towards those guys.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, there's that one thing, and there's something that I've seen so many times in other movies, like Back to the Future and things like that, to where he just when he kills those first 3 guys. And it's like bam, 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 and he turns around and he just walks off. Throws his elbows back, and he's just kind of, and I'm like, dude. And that's when I knew that he was just going to lay waste to him in the end. Was how it was just a quick, like 3 seconds, and he chopped a dude's arm off and killed 2 guys, and he's like, better get some coffins ready. Make it, make 3.
Make it 4. Yeah, I do remember that.
But yeah, kind of sounds like High Plains Drifter with Clint Eastwood. I think that's part of that. There's like a trilogy, and they're all kind of have references to this movie.
Yeah, that'd be the Dollars trilogy. Fistful of Dollars,
a few dollars more.
Good, Bad, and Ugly.
Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah,
they're not really a trilogy though.
No, not really a trilogy, but supposedly, The Man with No Name or whatever. And well, yeah. So what would you think of the direction here by Kurosawa?
Yeah. I still think Seven Samurai is my favorite one by him, but I would give this one a 9. It's still really good. It really shows his comedic chops and his beautiful cinematography work. Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, me too. I gave it a 9 as well, and that's only because Seven Samurai is home run for me.
Yeah,
but this was definitely a double with a run scored. It was really good.
Yeah.
Music is the next one. So music, sound effects, musical score. What did you think of the music here, the audio?
Well, I have to give it a lower score, but it's just due to the limitations of cinema in Japan at this time. Mm-hmm. I would probably give it a 6 or a 7, just because the audio, it's not the best mixing. The music is just okay too. It's not that good. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll put you down for a 7, or do you want a 6?
Let's do a 6.
Okay. I gave it a 6 as well. There were a couple of interesting points, like when they really, they do the action, and then when he walks away, especially that first scene again, walks away, there's that dun dun dun, like that really quick sound, that really quick score that they did with it, where you could, he did some stuff. And then they did that a couple times that I really liked. So that's why I was at a 6. Otherwise, yeah, it was really basic. And then wild card, action, more of a drama, but I've got to consider it at least partially like an action movie. But it's not slow moving for it being 2 hours. It actually moves pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially being really dialogue driven. I don't think it drags very much. So what would you give this? And I don't want to call it an action movie because it's not really action packed. It's more of a drama.
Yeah.
Like Seven Samurai, it's more of a drama, but there's action in it. So what would you give this? I guess as a drama on a 1 to 10.
As a drama, I'd give it a 8 because the stakes are pretty high and
it's intense.
Yeah, it's very intense.
Yeah, it's like camping. It's intense.
Exactly.
My dad joke for the night.
Coleman. No. Yep.
This is the first movie I gave it a higher score than you did.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I really wanted Sound of Music.
I bet you did. Oh, boy.
No, I like this one, too.
I got to say, yeah, this was my favorite. Absolutely. I really enjoyed this. But, yeah, let's go to our final scores on Yojimbo. IMDb is giving this an 8.2. Rotten Tomatoes critics score 95%. Audience score 93%. Rich gave this a 75. This is his highest score. I gave it an 83. Harrison, your score is an 81.
Oh, wow. We were close.
We were close.
Dang.
But that's it, man. We are done. That soundbite's going longer than I expected.
It's like, okay, do we keep clapping? Okay. All right.
I guess.
このざまだ。
What a mess. It was the sound of there was the music in there that I wanted to point out, and I'll play it again.
このざまだ。
So that was part of where I gave it a 6 for the music, because there were a couple points that I liked, but nothing really jumped out to make that kind of an impact on the movie.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember it too much.
Yeah, and that's where you're like, I got to score it low because I don't remember the stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I am going to work my magic here and put some stuff in. While I'm doing that, I'm going to put you in the forefront, my friend. And I want you to go ahead and, advertise your channel, shameless plug everything. And by the way, I have his links in the description for, going night-night.
Good night.
Mimi's. Okay. No Mimi's. Yeah. My granddaughter said good night.
Good night.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about your movies and all that kind of stuff. And I think I'm going to need to switch you over here and then do that. Right. Go.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thanks again for having me on, man. I had a great time with this, and you can find me at Really Old Movies on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that says Really Old Movies, you'll find me there. Letterboxd, that's another one. And I just love talking about old movies from 1890 to 1965, because that to me is kind of really the best era of movies. We didn't need excessive violence, nudity, alcohol and all of that. They could tell compelling stories without needing any of that. And that's why I love old movies. That's why I talk about them. And just the great character-driven things. And then, so about the channel itself, I have a podcast that comes out every week, Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on those social, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And the one for this week is actually about Casablanca. So if you want more in-depth details about my thoughts on it, and again, it's my favorite movie ever, check that one out. I love watching that one. And then I'm a little more sporadic on my live streams. I've been trying to do them on the third Saturday of the month, but I just get so busy with school and work. I haven't been able to be super consistent. I'm hoping to change that soon, but I'll talk anything from top 10 within a specific decade, or top 5 from a specific actor or director from classic Hollywood era. Just because I just love old movies so much, trying to learn more, trying to share more. And actually, Evan, he and I had a great time doing one about Song of the South, and we did one about Jimmy Stewart. I did with my friend Nathan Hill as well. So yeah, again, follow me on Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, all of those places at Really Old Movies. And I had a great time today, man. I love this so much. So yeah.
That is awesome, brother. This has been an absolute pleasure. I really love doing these movies, and I want to thank you for that experience, because this is not something that I would have done. Rich and I tend to focus on the newer movies when we do our show, so it's really hard for us to do the older ones. Mm-hmm. And this is an opportunity for us to go back and do movies that we didn't get a chance to do, movies that we've never seen before. And I know Rich said he had a tough time, but I think, and he said it in the beginning, he appreciated the movies that were given. And I agree with that. I think that was my favorite part, is having 4 out of 5 movies that I've never seen before. And it was great to watch these for the first time.
Oh yeah. It's what I live for, man. I love sharing them with people. Because like you said, not a lot of people watch them or even know about them. So yeah, I'm glad I could share that with you guys too.
That's cool. Yeah. So I am finalizing my stuff, and then I'm going to render that video. Almost ready to go.
Oh, thanks,
Before I do
Caveman.
that, I'm taking the screenshot of our total scores, individual, and then the outro is going to have a recap of everything that we did.
Oh, we were gonna share a surprise. I forgot.
We're going to share a surprise. I didn't know if you want to do that at the very end or you want to do that now.
Let's do that now since it'll kind of be promoting too. So,
Mhm.
actually, right after this, we'll be recording an episode that'll be coming out next week, and it'll be about Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest, starring Cary Grant. So I'm really excited to talk about that. It's one of my favorite Hitchcock films, so I'm really looking forward to talking with you about that.
Oh, me too, man. I'm rendering the video right now, so I might break up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So I have the Blu-ray that I watched. I really like to get a 4K of this.
There isn't one yet.
No. So I know that they did Vertigo and Rear Window, and I was like, dude, and no, those are my top three: North by Northwest, Vertigo, and Rear Window. Probably in that order are my top three Hitchcock movies. And when I saw the first two, I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna get North by. No, I didn't get North by Northwest, and I was like, dang it.
Come on.
So that was fun. So yeah, Caveman says, sub to you, Harrison.
Yeah, thanks,
Awesome.
man. Appreciate that.
Keep it going. Evan says, love doing live with Harrison. Always a great time. Yeah,
Yes.
I had a great time. I can't wait to do talk North by Northwest with you.
Yeah, this could be awesome.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to hear the surprise. Well, we did it. I let the cat out of the bag. It's fine. Great live stream. Thanks, Miss Caveman. Yes, great live stream. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, guys.
One of my favorite Cary Grant movies. Dude, and speaking of dry humor, man, that's one of my favorite things about this. He is sarcastic.
Oh, I love it so much.
In this movie, because he's got a gun to him and he's like, really? You're gonna put a gun to me? You're gonna make me, gonna do this,
Yeah.
It was really funny. Even sarcastic to the judge when he's in front of the judge. That was
He's super
cracking me up.
hangover. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I think my video is done. So I'm gonna load. First, I'm gonna load our full results since that's done. And this is the thing that I just started doing so that you can see the individual scores and how we ranked them. Because people were like, oh, how did you rank them compared to Mega Mike and stuff like that? And I didn't actually do that in the first episode, but I started doing that with Dell. So our full results, and I'm gonna start with you, Harrison. Your number one was Casablanca with a 97.
No surprise.
Gone
there.
with the Wind at number 2 with 91. Sweet Smell of Success with an 86 takes number 3. I said Yo Kimbo, but I spelled it wrong. Yo Jimbo. I did that right everywhere else, I hope. Yes, I did. With an 81 takes the number 4 spot, and the General is your number 5 with a 78. Riches were Yo Jimbo with number 1 with a 75. Sweet Smell of Success with a 66. And Casablanca also with a 66. Are 2 and 3. The General was number 4 with a 57, and Gone with the Wind was his least favorite with a 55. I think mine was a little more normal. Yojimbo was my first with an 83. Casablanca with an 82. Gone with the Wind with an 80. Sweet Smell of Success with a 74. And the General with a 65 takes my number 5 spot.
All right.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And now that I saw that I spelled Yojimbo wrong and I put that in the outro, let me fix that and save and then re-render this, which is the part that I hate. But anyway, that'll be done in a second. So Harrison, great time. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a blast. I can't wait to record North by Northwest after this. Any closing statements as far as the scores, the rankings, anything that surprised you? What are your final thoughts on our Hi-5 tonight?
Yeah, oh, I think I'm hearing an echo.
Darn it.
Let's try now. Okay, we're good. No, just I had a great time, and I'm always down to talk old movies, and I'm I'm a little disappointed, not gonna lie, Rich, but that's okay. We all art is subjective, right? But no, it was a blast, man, and like I kept saying, you got to eat your greens too, No,
Yeah,
I
gotta eat your veggies or no dessert.
That's right. But no, I just think it's important to kind of diversify kind of our movie consumption, watch some new movies and old ones and even more independent. And that's what I love about you guys. You're always talking about either the most popular, but even some obscure ones, even ones I'll probably never watch, but it's still funny hearing your guys' thoughts on them. So again, I really appreciate you having me on today. It's been a blast.
Cool. Thanks, Harrison. That's great. Mike says, really good stuff, guys.
That was a
Love
really nice
play
comment
on the word there. Awesome. He also says, hopefully next week everyone will think it was something awesome. Oh, good play on words. Yeah, so we've got Mike from the Something Awesome podcast next week. And then next week, check out Harrison's channel on Spotify or any other audio podcast. Also, you can check out the Faces for Radio podcast. We are on Spotify as well as Google Podcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Castbox, and not Apple Podcast yet, but I'm working on that.
That one's a bear.
It's a bear, and I've got an account on Apple with my work, so it's conflicting with me trying to get a personal one to do the podcast. So yeah, that's creating an issue, but hopefully one of these days I'll get that fixed and get that in there. But in the meantime, the audio portion of this live stream will be available on Spotify and those other channels as of probably tomorrow, if not the weekend at the latest. Okay. I think we're ready to get out of here. So again, thanks you guys for watching. Be safe. Take care. God bless. Watch movies. And I hope this gives you guys a sense of maybe seeing something that you wouldn't normally watch, because who knows, you might be surprised with what you find.
Amen.
For my buddy Harrison and for my buddy Rich, who again couldn't join us tonight, thanks again. We'll see you next time on the Faces for Radio podcast.